I'm here.
Oh, excellent. Here. Do you interrupt then?
I sent you a chat because I know you tricked me last time.
I know.
Um,
It's all. By the way, they can all hear us talk right now. I think we're really destroying the illusion of our subtlety. Yes, we'll show up now. We're totally not looking at the chat at all right now. I guess at a certain point we should probably drop the video that we're not actually that we're just letting them wait in anticipation for movies. It's probably a good idea at some point.
so they actually can hear us then, right?
Completely.
Is what you're...
Everything you're saying right
Okay.
now, they can hear it completely.
That's cool.
Yeah, I think it's pretty neat. Yeah, I think it's good. A little peek behind the curtain.
Ooh, speaking of curtains.
Speaking of curtain, I think we should peel back the curtain and get to the point of this stream.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay, I'm gonna drop the act now. Okay. Well, they can see us now. We're good. Okay, welcome everyone to another one of these streams. It's been a little bit of time since I was last live because last week I was very tired after listening to Mahler speak for about 9 hours in my earbuds. But we're here now. Welcome. We have a couple of guests here. Do you mind introducing yourselves, guests?
Hi. I'm Madeline May, she, her. I'm a video essayist. I also studied film and media at UC Santa Barbara, and I love talking about media and movies and stuff.
Sounds good. And our second guest, mind introducing yourself today?
Hello, I am Sekrios, a British content creator, the mind behind the Obsidian Archives indie animated series on YouTube. I'm here to weigh in on this discussion on narrative and narrative structure.
Well, more media literacy than narrative structure, but it all works out all the same, which is less structure and more interpretation of structure, which I think is where things get really interesting. We won't dive immediately into the topic. I do want to do some talking with everyone a little bit. Some people are saying the ceiling is green, which I think is bizarre. There's no green in this entire imagery except for Madeline's hair. I'm seeing someone say they thought my guest was Snapcube. So I think, Madeline, they confused you with Snapcube for a second there.
What's a Snapcube?
You don't know
What is
Snapcube?
Snapcube?
Oh,
I don't know
Snapcube's
what that is.
great.
Okay.
Basically,
Well, then that's me. I'm Snapcube. Yeah, that's correct then.
So how's your Sonic impersonation?
Whoa!
Oh yeah, basically Snapcube.
That's what I got.
That's it. That's Snapcube basically right there.
You're too slow. I'm gonna eat all these chili dogs.
Yeah, I see. I hear no difference between.
Okay,
you and
good. Yeah.
Snapcube.
I was actually in Sonic.
Oh yeah, just like Snapcube.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
No, not really.
Okay.
No, she's just messing with you. All right.
Yeah, I had a feeling.
The guy. Thank you so much for super chat. Happy Pride, y'all. Though if I have to hear one more buys only celebrate half the month joke, I am gonna scream. Wasn't funny the first time. I completely agree with that. It is not a funny joke whatsoever.
Oh my god, it's not 50. I'm also bi, so it's not 50-50.
No, 100% not. Oh, Penny. You might know Snapcube as Penny Parker, by the way, Madeline. Does that name sound more familiar to you?
Penny
Parker, not to be confused
from
with Penny...
Spider-Man.
Not that Penny Parker, but Penny Parker.
Oh, okay.
Probably half inspired by that name. Now that I think about it, probably.
Okay.
But anyway, we got.
I trust you that these are real people. I'm old. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
That's true. That's
these
true.
people are.
Honestly, Snapcube is really funny. I've included so many Snapcube jokes in my videos that I then cut out because I'm like, this is too specific. Drinking a little bit of water here.
Oh yeah, she's famous. Okay.
Oh yeah, she's very well known.
I judge people by their subscriber count. That to me is equal to how good of a person they are.
So how good of a person?
So that's
Nice.
you're getting there.
I'm getting there.
Yeah, you're getting there.
I'm getting there. Okay, I appreciate that.
When you finally pass 100K, we'll talk about your morals.
Fair enough. I'll save that morality discussion for then. Fred, I can't say your name this early in the stream because it might get it demonetized. Hello, have you seen TADC? TADC? If so, what are your thoughts? TADC, what does that stand for? That stands for the Life Aquatic. No, the Adventures of Baron Munchausen. No, it's not it either.
Oh, the Amazing Digital Circus.
The Amazing Digital Circus. There we go.
that's
Yeah,
what it
yeah.
is.
I have seen some of the Amazing Digital Circus. I think it's really cool. I never finished it though. I know it's like 1 to 2 episodes, but I've never actually finished it. I liked what I saw though. Jack Sheehy, you guys gonna watch Life of Chuck? I am gonna see Life of Chuck. I am excited for Life of Chuck. Life of Chuck sounds so legitimately amazing. I cannot wait for that. Do you all know about Life of Chuck?
I do not.
Life of Chuck.
Yeah, that's the really
Mhm.
it's a really sappy movie that's like really bad or something.
I have heard it's quite good actually.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I heard it's amazing.
I don't know.
I heard it's really good.
I don't know the Life of Chuck.
It's a Mike Flanagan movie based on a Stephen King novella.
I was thinking of something else, like one of those movies where like a star takes care of like a kid on the spectrum and it's horrible.
No,
And nobody
this is
gets
not
anything
that.
right. Okay, it's not one of those movies.
No, it's more like It's a Wonderful Life or The Shawshank Redemption. That
Got it.
kind
No,
of movie.
I love Mike Flanagan. That sounds great.
Oh, you know, Mike Flanagan can do no wrong in my opinion. He's doing fantastic.
He's pretty good. I don't know if I'd go that far, but I do like him a lot.
You and
for sure.
you and Crimson Ender can go fight over Mike Flanagan. He loves him.
I just
Quite
said
a
I
lot.
liked him. I just said I really liked him.
If you do
God.
not, if you do
It's
not
it's an all or nothing with you people.
if you do not erect your personal Mike Flanagan shrine that you burn incense to and sing chants to, then are you even a fan? I mean, really,
That's very.
very specific. I know.
Are you even a character in a Mike Flanagan show? No, at that point, you're not.
No, completely not. Venom Wi-Fi. What is curtains is blue mean? We will discuss that shortly. It is a whole thing. I'm going to explain. Jack Sheehy, what are your favorite Stephen King stories? So actually, you're all familiar with Stephen King decently enough, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
What are your favorites from Stephen King? Before I say mine.
I think, in my honest opinion, Stephen King is a pale imitation of Garth Marenghi.
Blood.
It's very
Blood.
fair.
There
It's
was
very
blood.
fair.
I know writers who use subtext, and they're all cowards.
Garth Marenghi is also a cooler name than
It is.
Stephen King.
It is.
Yeah,
I'm
sounds
one
like
of the
he's a
few-
Jedi or something.
I'm one of the few authors who's written more than he's read.
I
That is
mean,
one of my favorites from that. Yeah, I do like that one a lot.
I think I probably wrote more than I read as well, to be honest.
I don't have that. I'm not.
No,
sure
I know I can. If I read, I would be like, "Oh, this is hard." So if I just write, it's fine.
You never exactly. You never know how bad your own writing is if you never read it.
That's true. That's very true. Never read.
Yeah, right.
It's my lesson today.
There
Don't
you
read.
go. That's your lesson of the day. Don't read books, children.
Don't read books.
Or
You're
adults
childish.
in your 40s. Don't read books. Anyway, so Madeline, any Stephen King stories you can say is your favorite?
I mean, I've never read Stephen King. I mean, I've seen the movies.
Valid.
In stuff. I mean, I like the Shining, but I know that version's very different from the books.
Yeah. Book's very different.
I know the book's very different. I like some of the ideas. Like I watch a lot of videos about like horror media, and I like when they talk about like a Stephen King story. Sounds like, oh, if I read that, that would be interesting. You know, so
Valid.
it's like, yeah, I guess I would like his weirder, more psychological stuff because I like psychological horror a lot. So probably that kind of those works I'd probably prefer over the other ones.
That's fair. I think, in my opinion, Pet Sematary is my favorite one of his. I think that's such a disturbing story.
Cool idea, yeah.
Oh, it's deeply unpleasant. And the thing is, it's all a build up to the last act. Like, the whole book is like, it really gets you in that mindset. And King supposedly was so upset from this story because he originally wrote it as a reaction to his son Joe Hill. I think it was Joe Hill, almost getting hit by a truck. Like the scene where Gabe in the book gets killed was based on a real event from Stephen King's life. And he took that experience and he wrote about it, and he just made this, in like a few days, wrote this whole story. And then he was like, this is too disturbing for me. I can't publish this. I can't touch this. He put it in a shelf on his desk and forgot about it. And then eventually he had to get out of his deal with Doubleday, I think it was. And he took the book out and was like, okay, here's the last book, and I want to get on my contract with you. Take this book I wrote, publish it, do whatever. And he got out of his contract, but also he published arguably one of his most disturbing books. Also, underrated Eye of the Dragon, I feel, is a very underrated Stephen King book, I think. Okay, there's a few comments right here. One's from Oliver 3748. And who would you rather smooch? Peter B. Parker or Miguel O'Hara? Happy Pride, everyone. Between the two of them, well, Miguel O'Hara scares me, so I guess it would be Peter B. Parker in that case. Anyway, Blue Bow 501. But do the curtains match the drapes? I hope so. Hope so. Kyla Bones. Is it weird how Stephen King wrote not one but two novels about a possessed car? It is very strange, but then you consider his expanded universe, and the car from Christine actually shows up in it also. Pennywise calls it over.
Stephen King just has bad luck with cars in general. Yeah, it's kind of like his arch enemy, if you think about it.
Honestly, there's a few stories about possessed cars. Like, obviously, there's Christine. There's what's it called? Maximum Overdrive. There's also Out of Buick 8. I think it was another one too. There's a possessed car, but very different kind of style. Jay Wong, The Shining novel genuinely scared me. Yeah, the novel's really good. People tend to make it like a you have to go for one or the other, but like I think the novel is very differently effective than the book. And there's some things in that book that just don't translate very well to screen that are very effective on the written page, which I think is interesting. I think it's neat. Jacked Thorso, thank you for Super Chat. Excited to see your take. I think metaphorical readings add a lot to a work, and I think are often intentional, but people can go overboard with it. Yeah, that is true. I think now we should get to the. Let me get this up real quick. So, let me get the original source of this whole thing. There are many. Okay, so let me get the. This isn't the original, but. Okay. So this all started from a couple of posts online, and I'm not sure what the original one is, unfortunately, but the gist is right here. Let me bring it up real quick. What this means by everything. So, oh wow, this is really zoomed in. Let me zoom out a little bit with this. Okay. So right here, I'm bring up on screen. You can see it. We all good? Yeah, cool. So let me adjust this real quick. So. The idea is between how we interpret media through the lens of the literary professor versus how the average person might read a story. And the argument is that how we interpret media and literature is often trumped up by academics who are just thirsty for a job. So this post is probably a good example of what we're talking about here. So, author versus English teacher. What the author meant... What your English teacher thinks the author meant. You see, there's a very little overlap according to this chart. For instance, the curtains were blue. Here's the big example. What your teacher thinks. The curtains represent his immense depression and his will to carry on. What the author meant. The curtains were fucking blue. That's what the original post is. That's it right there. This mentality. That, we at literary analysis will sometimes interpret meaning where there is none, and what the author really meant was it was just arbitrary. There wasn't really any idea behind it. They just put it into the story for the sake of it. That small details that might indicate greater meaning are not all that important in the vast scheme of things, or arguably even intended. Now, on the principle of that, how do you two interpret this idea?
Well, first off, I love that this says what your teacher thinks,
Oh wow!
which I believe
Wait,
is a great start to the conversation. I mean, that's true. None of my teachers ever said that, but one of my teachers
Might have.
did make that argument to me.
You know, nothing really says literary.
Teachers on the features. Yeah.
Nothing says sophisticated like misspelling teacher in the example of trying to sound smarter than everyone else. I love it.
Acre.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. That's great.
I believe this could be interpreted in two different ways. It kind of depends if you view media as a piece of art that's meant to like touch you as the consumer of the art, or if it's meant to be a puzzle box trying to reach the artist. Because depending on the media, you could have an artist that might be either going through a thing or is trying to decode some narrative. Maybe they even write in an elliptical manner. The goal, hypothetically, would be to like observe and analyze the media in a way to figure out like where the artist is at. While alternatively, the artist could probably make some media, and like it could be up to like the viewer what they feel about it the most. Is like who's doing more the sending or the receiving, so to speak.
That's certainly true, I think. And it's also true to remember, like, with a lot of this, is that media analysis in general is like all things in art form, you know? There are ways to do it correctly, and there are ways to do it incorrectly. And so, what's frustrating about this kind of prompt is that, on one level, you start off going, okay, yeah, I mean, sometimes the author does just do things arbitrarily. Other times, there's intense messaging and thought behind it. I'll give you an example real quick. So when I was in school, there was, in university, one of the classes I took was a Shakespeare class, where we had a bunch of different Shakespeare plays and everything like that. And the teacher the first day asked us, what do you think Shakespeare meant, was thinking when he wrote Hamlet? And all of us were going like, oh, you know, it's the cycle of revenge. It's about, you know, maybe it was an old story he reinterpreted. Maybe he was trying to make it relevant to an audience. And the teacher was like, what Shakespeare was thinking of, how can I get everyone's butts back in the Globe Theater next week to pay for another show? And that was his mentality. His mentality ultimately was, it was capitalism. It was how can I make people want to come back for the next show? How can I make people come back for the next production? And how can I keep my sponsors happy? And that was what his intentionality was. But the text itself can still be interpreted. But always make sure you know, hey, author intention is one thing, but the messaging of the piece is sometimes separate from the author. It's what we call death of the author. That author intentionality is not always the final say in how we interpret a work.
Yeah, I think that's I think that's closer to how I think about this. I kind of love this meme because it gets like a lot of things are wrong about art.
Mm-hmm.
Even things that like I don't think the original creator of this even intended to be wrong about. Like it's wrong, it's incorrect in a variety of very interesting ways.
Mm-hmm.
First off, I find it kind of fascinating that the meme is comparing the populist way of reading a book to what the author intended a book to mean.
Exactly.
I think the elitism of such a statement that your English teacher is wrong is also very interesting and telling. And also just like everything that's being written here is just like a complete misunderstanding of how we analyze or even look at art. Like we
100%.
We, for some reason, I don't know why this is, and I do feel like this is mostly from online conversation kind of brings out the worst ways of looking at things. But like you don't like read a book being like, okay, like everything is a symbol for something, I have to figure it out. That's not what a book is, and people that like try to look at media in that way I think are very much missing the point and are kind of just going on their own like imaginary scavenger hunts in their head for what something means.
Exactly.
Like the curtains can be blue, and they can also not be a symbol, but they can also like mean something. Like, I remember one of my teachers in like high school would say that the most like most misused or wrongly used word that she saw in essays was symbol.
Yeah.
That nobody ever used the term symbol correctly, because symbol, what it means generally is that if you say something is a symbol for something, that means it's a symbol all the time of that thing. And generally, that's not how writers write. Like, writers try to convey themes, emotions, feelings and all that stuff. So I argue that if you say the curtains were blue, like that meaning of the curtains are blue depend on the context in which you're reading it. Like, the author could have written any color that they wanted and they chose blue, maybe not even for reasons they know why they chose blue, but that still colors the environment of what you're reading. Like, it doesn't have to mean specifically one thing, but like, if let's say a character feels trapped in their home life and they're in their room, blue could be a motif, which is usually what people think when they think symbols are actually talking about motifs.
Agreed.
It could be
And
it could represent a reoccurring theme of like the blue of like escapism or the sky. It's not a symbol for these things, but it kind of enhances the ideas and concepts that are already there.
No,
Which is again why I think this game is so funny.
As usual, you're saying a whole lot of things, and there's a lot I want to respond to. It's all good. It's all good. There's a lot you're saying that I think is a lot. It's really good. It's good conversation stuff, but I think I want to respond to it bit by bit. There's so much there. I think one thing you're touching upon too that's important is that intentionality isn't always important. Sometimes it's just to set a tone or a mood for a setting. Blue is obviously a color that is sometimes associated with melancholy. It's also sometimes associated with power too. A lot of royals wore blue. Blue was a very rare dye for much of the ancient world, and much of the medieval world as well. Lapis lazuli is a major color. The blue curtains could simply be an idea of masculinity or femininity in some cases. Blue, if it's a dark blue, can be dreary and depressing, dark, maybe concealing the light from without. Or it could be something empowering and prideful. It could be a sign of luxury. It all depends on what the specific elements are. My mic is really soft. How about now? Is my mic good? Is my mic good now, guys? I'm seeing people complain about the mic volume. That good now, guys? There we go.
Is your OBS okay with your mic?
No, it's always the mic in this case. I think I have a new mic now. I've been playing around.
You
a little
sound
bit.
clear on the Discord end, so I'm not sure.
That sounds good. All right, cool. Yeah, it always it's always a factor. I'm very sorry. Yeah, I always talk soft, unfortunately, for better or worse. And for whatever reason, my mic is sometimes a little. Let me try. Okay, it's better now? That's good. Excellent. Cool. Yeah, this mic has adjustable volume. It's fantastic. I love this new mic. It's great. But yeah, no, there's a lot going on there. It's really interesting. So, okay.
Well, like, even what you were saying about like authorial intent, I think what's interesting about people making that argument is that like you could also say the reverse. The show kind of like why it is really important to separate like the art from the artist when it comes to interpretation, because like if you read a book and you see it one way and then the author says, no, you're wrong, it's this, like,
well, that's
why should
too.
they be more believed? Why should you believe that more than your true like personal reaction to something? Like, I've read works that suggests like that Alice in Wonderland was written because the author hated new math or was trying to
imaginary
impress
numbers,
or was trying to impress a little girl in a very inappropriate way.
I've heard both of those
those
too,
were what the author intended. Like, okay, but that doesn't mean that is a bad way of looking at these stories. That obviously means so much more than that. But it's strange to be like, well, the author said this, so we have to just stop thinking about this media
Right,
and just do what the author said.
let me give you
That just doesn't make any sense to me.
let me give you a question, both of you. What do you think Mary Shelley intended with the book Frankenstein? Don't look it up. I'll tell you what it is. But I want to ask you a question. What do you think Mary and people in chat try this too? What did Mary Shelley intend with the story of Frankenstein? Because she did say what her intentions were. What do you think it was?
I think I'm gonna be honest with Mary Shelley's. I think my interpretation is mostly. I think the best way to say it's kind of a philosophical discussion about the relationship between artistic visionaries and like scientists. It's like it's one thing to do scientific research, it's another to have the artistic vision to inspire the direction of science. But I think that's more of a metatextual thing outside of anything that's actually written in the book, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. That makes sense. It's not what Mary Shelley intended, though, but it does make sense. Madeline, what do you think?
Well, I think I know the story you're talking about, because Mary Shelley wrote it as part of an all-night in with other writers to see who could make the scariest story possible, and she won by making a really scary story. Is that what you're talking about?
No. I'm talking about
Okay, so there's another...
what the thematic point of Frankenstein was.
I don't know. No, I don't know what the thematic point is that she personally meant. I mean, I can think about the era, but again, I can't predict what anybody, let alone the author, actually intended with anything.
Well, because Mary Shelley said it, so we know for a fact what her intentions are, and you can look it up too.
Okay, what did she say?
So a lot of people here are saying it was about the fear of playing God, that man should never play God. Well, no, it was the point about, it was the idea of Frankenstein is a story about motherhood, about how men cannot be mothers themselves. Men should not try to produce life because they will squander their life-giving potential. Mary Shelley said this Now, Mary Shelley said this in a very different manner. She specifically was referring to the wasteful expenditure of masculine seed in her statement. What you have to remember is that Mary Shelley's mother was Mary Wollstonecraft. Wollstonecraft, who was one of the very early feminist writers of the day, and dealt with a lot of biological feminism in that sense. So it was a very biological intention. However, most people, when reading Frankenstein, don't read that perspective of it. They look at it from a perspective of, it's about man playing God. It's about the ideas of people who, about science, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. There's a lot of ideas there. And I
think the feminists, like you're talking about, is very interesting, because obviously that sounds insane to us today, but at the time, like Mary Shelley's time, women had like no rights whatsoever, and just the fact that she could even get a book published was insane. Like, obviously it wasn't unheard of, but it was something that, like, all of her peers, like even the people she was writing with in that one night where she came up with Frankenstein, were all men, and they're all like very successful, very lauded authors, while she was somebody who had a very passing interest in like some of the sciences became part of Mary Shelley.
I'm going to back you up with that.
This is from, maybe I read a different book then about what it was about.
Mary Shelley was always around poets and writers. Her mother famously...
I know that, yeah.
Her mother famously died in childbirth. There was a lot, and she was part of Lord Byron's inner circle. Like, she was respected by
Lord Byron was one of the other authors at that night where they wrote it.
Arguably,
that's kind of what I mean, is that she was part of this, but she was also still a woman in a time when women had very little rights, and it was kind of unthinkable for a woman to, let's say, like sit in on a lecture with a doctor or something like that at a university, and that's kind of another element to it as well. So I understand why she'd make something about how shitty men are. Well, like, I totally get it. Like,
it's not even about how bad men are. It's more about the function of of women in society. That was what she was more interested in discussing, because she was she was very affected by that. That was something she was very passionate about.
Yeah.
And she was also very young too. Now, again, this is hard to judge by mind. And also, don't forget that Mary Shelley was published around the same time that Jane Austen was published. So don't forget that. That's important to note as well. And Mary Shelley was romanticist. Jane Austen was neoclassicist. Very different political perspectives. And arguably, her husband, and Lord Byron were in a throuple, but that's a whole other discussion for the day. We're not ready for that conversation yet. But maybe we read a few super chats real quick before we keep moving. There's a lot that came in before we didn't notice. Maybe mention. Some of them are very relevant to the discussion right here. Adrian Parchment, thank you for super chat. Have you read Just Listen to the Song by Tatsuki Fujimoto, the author of Chainsaw Man? Have similar themes to the Curtains of Blue meme, but smarter. I have not read that actually, but I will look it up later. That sounds like a good one to look up. Nick Wolf, and now our theater presentation. Our feature presentation. I love it. That's great. Jack Sheehy. I think Night of the Living Dead is a good example of the Curtains of Blue, where the movie has a lot of hidden parallels on racism, even though the director, George A. Romero, wasn't aware of it. And yes, that's a great example. Thank you for bringing it up. Yeah, Night of the Living Dead is a fantastic example of this because, for those who don't know, George Romero did not intend on it being an allegory for racism. It was completely unintentional on his part. Yeah. However, he absolutely... Mic's a little slanted now. I'm sorry. I'm still getting used to this mic. Oh wow, all the things went down too. The volume went down. That's great. However, quick adjustment here. I'm still getting used to this. I'm so sorry.
What kind of mic is that?
It's HyperX.
Okay.
However, this might be a little easier actually. Let me try this out. Here we go. That might be a little easier if I just put it down that way. Out of the way though. But hey, what are you gonna do? However, what was interesting? Oh, fuck. Just stay there, dude. just stay in place. I treat you good. I treat you good, Mike. Why do you have to do this to me?
I have to use a counterweight for my mic because the stand it's heavier than the stand.
Oh man, that stinks. That's rough. That's rough. Anyway, so what I was saying was Romero didn't intend on it being an anti-racism allegory. However, it became one very quickly because the movie dealt with an old society devouring a new society devouring the old. It dealt with a black protagonist who was assertive, who was in charge, who was powerful, but also fair and intelligent and sophisticated. And what ended up happening is he's eventually, spoilers for a now 60-year-old movie, roughly, but he's ultimately gunned down, not by the zombies, but by people, by a gang of vigilantes, essentially. And it's a very depressing ending to a very powerful movie. It's undeniably one of the all-time greats. But its message was unintentional. But that being said, Romero would later include more intentionality in his work to follow. Amazing. It's funny, I've been watching so much Romero and Stephen King related stuff for a video project I'm working on for next week. And it's wild. Anyway, read a few super chats. Jay Wong, are you going to bring up Roland Barthes and his philosophy? I might just. Let me bring it up just in case. Don't forget. I wasn't even thinking that. Oh yeah, Death of the Author. We mentioned Death of the Author kind of to an extent just now, actually. So I guess we are. Yeah, I wasn't sure if there's another philosophy to discuss there. Arthur Clybourne writes, sometimes this depends. The pearl in The Six Napoleons is just a pearl, but in the Basil Rathbone adaptation has a deeper meaning. That's true, but the idea of it also is the violence and obsession and greed that pushes people. You know, the pursuit of that pearl is what motivates all the criminals to act in such a horrible way. You know, fighting and scheming over each other. Adrian Parchman, what about the three shells from Demolition Man? Can you believe this guy? Doesn't know about the three shells. You guys didn't see Demolition Man, did you?
No, I've seen.
I know the
Nostalgia
reference.
Critic.
Oh, okay, cool, good. I was gonna say my jokes are funny. Not really. Nick Wolf.
No, I agree. You're funny.
Yay! Thank you. Nick
You're
Wolf. What was that? Nick Wolf. Now I picture Mary Shelley watching Arnold's Jr. Oh, that's great. I love that visual. It's funny. That's a funny visual.
I remember that.
Oh God, that
scene.
movie. I love it. That's frightening. That baby is terrifying. It's like the baby from Basket Case in that scene with Arnold's head. The guy 493. Wasn't it pronounced Frankenstein? Maybe. No, it's
That sounds
pronounced
like a meme
Igor.
answer.
What?
That sounds like a meme answer.
Wait, have you?
Yeah.
You never seen Young Frankenstein?
I have not actually.
Oh,
I've
you gotta
seen
watch
Mel
Young
Brooks
Frankenstein.
movies before, but not that one.
You gotta watch Young Frankenstein. It's so funny. If you
very
watch
funny.
it, you'll get the reference if you watch Young Frankenstein. Because, Gene Wilder's grandson of Dr. Frankenstein, he calls himself Frankenstein to separate himself from his father's from his grandfather's legacy. It's great. Love it. Yeah, it's such a fun movie. I love Young Frankenstein. And Young Frankenstein's a great example, too, of death of the author of literature, because it is, interestingly enough, satire does apply meaning where it wasn't previously to a movie. Now, I do want to bring up a few videos to react to give us a conversation centerpiece. So I'm going to bring one of those up right now. I'm going to bring up a video just about the curtains being blue right here. And this will kind of inspire the discussion. It's a shortish video. I'm going to start from the
Examples of
beginning
these
real
newer
quick.
phrases are
1 sec. Bring it up right here. Make sure it's center frame here. Right. Adjust. And okay, let's take a look at this video right here. The creator is a user named fin.exe has started. It's a smaller creator, but this video blew up about 3 weeks ago and kind of inspired this top point of discussion. And this is, again, another creator reacting to this whole discussion as well. And I think we can have this as a centerpiece to discuss and maybe engage with the ideas present. We're not going to watch the whole video because I think you should watch it for yourself. And it is a little bit slower paced, so it isn't exactly like a joke a minute kind of video. But I do think it's interesting to discuss through this context. Before we start, I want to read a few more super chats to see if anyone says anything else that's very interesting to discuss. Probably a lot. Because I'm bored. Thank you again for the super chat. I mainly blame people who were forced to read The Great Gatsby in middle school and had to write paragraphs on why the light was green. But The Great Gatsby is such a good book. I love that book so much. I think it's fantastic.
The aesthetic of the movie, but then again,
Which one? Which movie? The DiCaprio one?
Yeah, the DiCaprio one. I mean, it has that iconic shot. It's like, a lot of cinematographers like to recreate that one scene,
And so do AI too, apparently.
Oh God.
I know. I love it. No, I love it. I think that movie's fantastic. It's a very good adaptation to get the style. Baz Luhrmann in general is another great creator in terms of really taking visual language and using it to elevate the story or tell a story differently, I think.
I love him. He's great. Yeah, I love Baz Luhrmann.
He's a fascinating figure.
We're talking about the director of of that Elvis movie in Moulin Rouge, right?
Mm-hmm. That's the one. And
Yeah.
Romeo plus Juliet version, which I'm not a big fan of that film, but I think it's creative how it adapts the story, I think.
Everyone watched,
I really loved that movie. It was like the aesthetic and like the intro and like the use of music and the choreography. It was just like really like awesome. Like it just kind of elevated the core story in a way.
I agree entirely.
Everyone watch Strictly Ballroom if you haven't. I think it's his first film. It's really good.
Underwatched, I feel, compared to what
Underwatched, yeah.
especially compared to what came later, I think. Nick Wolf, it's pronounced Frankenstein and Frankenstein's maker. Oh, thank you for that is true. It's true. Baichi Apiodera, thank you for the super chat. Time to listen to talks about the thought experiments. There we go. That's the plan. The Wave Runners, thank you for super chat. I wonder why Dante Alighieri would think of Devil May Cry and Virgil being the coolest character. Yeah, 100%. I love that. Yeah. Why did Dante Alighieri write Devil May Cry? Why did he give Virgil such a big sword in the story? Because that's what happened in Dante's Inferno, I'm pretty sure. I love Devil
I mean,
May
the
Cry.
sequel to Dante's Inferno, Bayonetta, is even more interesting. Definitely check out that series.
I know
Debatable.
of a
Debatable.
person that does sword reviews, and like they would go on about how in all these video games the swords are either like too thick and chunky, and it's like there's no practical reason for them to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that like really kind of intriguing, you know.
Oh, 100%. 100%. There's so much to that. That's so cool. By Chippy O'Dare, one last super chat before we move on. I want to remind everyone that The Curtains Are Blue is a thought experiment in literature, used to help you not focus on minor details in relation to the larger picture. That is also true. It is. Sometimes teachers tell you, what does the curtain mean? Or maybe the curtains are blue, in order to ignore the core, the smaller features, in order to focus on the big ideas. And this kind of ties in with what we're talking about in my previous video.
Yeah,
Mahler.
that's really interesting. I didn't think about that, but I think that that's absolutely right, because a lot of, and again, I really feel like this is a social media internet thing, because it's not quite as common in IRL, but like a lot of media discussion, even media discussion that we're gonna probably see in the chat. No offense, chat, I love you. You know, it really treats movies as something that needs to be solved, which is what's so like fascinating to me, because like art isn't something you're just like working at until you figure it out forever. Like art is so much more interesting than here is the answer. I feel like people that are trying to be like, this is what it means, are doing a great disservice to art and are making art boring. I think art is so much more interesting than just like a math problem that you don't know the variables for. Like that's, to me, is the opposite of what art should be, which is why I don't really like this.
Agreed.
I kind of actually disagree.
Oh, let's have a fight.
Okay,
Let's fight. Let's do this.
Fight. All right.
Let's fight. Okay,
all
we're
right.
gonna watch this video. Let's fight.
Are we fine? Are we fine? Or are we watching a video? I'm confused.
You two fight first.
Okay. Listen, I like to use the phrase context and subtext, not necessarily in their strict definitions, but usually I view art as being like a two-layered system. You have the thing that is literally happening, and then you have the thing that is sort of happening in the background. So this could be like ludonarrative, this could be metatext, subtext. Effectively, it is kind of the thing that you kind of meant to take away from it beyond what physically happens in the story. But in my honest view, I feel like on a philosophical level, any good piece of media needs to have a very solid context before it has any right to have an intriguing subtext. Because I feel like if you go out of your way and you tell a story which doesn't make sense or fails to follow its own rules or has a kind of disattachment from its own suspension of disbelief, your average viewer is not going to want to listen to whatever the subtext was that may or may not have justified it. And I have a very good example of this. Are you familiar with Rafine, the director?
Rafine?
What did he do?
He did the film Drive, which was really good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Drive's
I did see Drive.
So Drive was very good. Like, it is one of my favorite movies. Like, it's the perfect balance of the subtext and the context. Like, don't get me wrong, there's like moments where like it's really hoping that you get the symbolism of what it's trying to lay down, but there is definitely like an entire thread of cohesive logic that you can follow from beginning to end. Then he made a different movie called Only God Forgives.
Oh yeah, that was a rough one. I didn't like that one as much.
That film, like, is the thing, if you read it from a subtextual level, it is so deep and dense. But the problem was, on a contextual level, it is completely bewildering. It took me like 3 or 4 watches to even understand what he was even trying to say on the contextual level. It's like you have some mafioso, but he's also kind of like a god of the region or something. And like Ryan Gosling wants his arms taken away at the end. It's like it was very weird. It was a very
odd film. But and that's the thing too, like certain films do dive into the ideology and themes very overtly. But the question then becomes, what is symbolism and what is just the text? Like, what is subtext versus what is the text?
Again,
of the
I
film?
think, again, like I really feel like we're putting like a very strict like strict thing onto like what media and what art is. Like
Agreed.
even your I do actually would like you to clarify more in a second what you mean by the context of a piece of art versus the subtext of a
Yeah.
piece of art. But I think another thing we really need to understand is that art is also deeply personal and up to interpretation. So a context that doesn't make sense to one person could make complete and total sense to another person, depending on life experiences, depending on how they watch it, or they just have a different vibe that they like or dislike. I feel like putting such strict language on like this is good, this is bad, this is that really kind of defeats the purpose of what art is, which is a experience. It's something that you as an audience member take in with like every possible sense that you have. And I just really don't like people that are like, this is what it means. Oh, you didn't see that that's what it means. Screw off, loser. You failed at reading. Like, no, that doesn't make any. I mean, that's why I don't like the term media literacy, because it implies that you failed at watching a movie. When like, no, you saw a movie. You didn't go to the theater and go, I don't know what's happening. I can't read pictures. Like, that's not what happens when you see a piece of art. I feel like it's completely anti to what is actually being talked about, which is critical thinking. I think when people say media literacy, what they actually mean is critical thinking, which is really just thinking broadly about a piece of art. And it's not like a complicated thing. Like anyone can do it. You don't have to go to school. It's just a way of like thinking about things, kind of like the argument you were talking about, the original meaning of the curtains being blue as a thought experiment. Like the point of all this is to get you to think more broadly than just like you, to think kind of beyond yourself while also thinking about your own experiences watching the piece of media.
I think my perspective is a little different from both of yours. I think with me, I think there are wrong interpretations to a film where it's just antithetical to what the ideas of the film are. For example, if you watch Schindler's List and come away thinking that Germany had the right idea, you might have missed the point of the movie. And there's no degree of death of the author that can really justify that read of the movie based on the film itself.
I see to that example specifically, I do think that goes into more critical thinking. And I also find that extremely interesting that somebody would watch that film and go, oh, the Nazis were good. That in itself is a very fascinating discussion that I want to know more about.
I would like to pick apart
because
the
that
brain.
Makes no sense to me.
I wouldn't want to talk to someone though who got that message from the film. I would like to pick their brain. I wouldn't want to be close to them.
I do personally. I think how people interpret work can be just as interesting as the interpretation itself.
Well, I agree. That's one reason why I think video essays are so interesting. I think because it really gives you insight into how
that's
you see
why
it.
like I find myself being like, especially people that have very like strict like this is what it means and you're wrong if you disagree with me. I find those interpretations so fascinating, and I want to know more about that person that said that.
You mean like the
because
entire
I just
subject
so
of last
vehemently
Friday's
disagree
video?
with that way of looking at art.
You mean the subject of last Friday's video entirely? For
Sure.
me. But the thing also is, I think, like with most things, art is very personal. There is in existential philosophy, there's an idea of the self defined by the self and the self defined by others. How we see ourselves versus how other people see us. And they're both equal truths. With art, it's how the creator intended the art, what their messaging was, what their intentionality was, and what the experience of the individual takes away from that art. How do they connect to it? What elements they can discuss. And I think with video essays in general, reviews, it's fundamentally about how to make someone else see the art the same way you do. Your discussions, your analysis is to convince someone else that the art that you are seeing is the art that they should see, or at least how you see it as best you can.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Or at least like to make a good, or at least to express clearly your own opinions and feelings on what a text means, which is what all of my video essays are specifically. Like my goal isn't to tell people that you're wrong if you think a certain way about something, or if you're different from me. Even though I get a lot of comments that are like, "How dare you say I'm wrong?" I'm like, I never said that in my video. This is literally just what I think. Please think of something else. Like, please think another opinion, because like I love that. And I think that's why a lot of conversation around this, and kind of going back to like the curtains are blue, or like, you motherfucking idiot. I do want to get to know exactly what's going on. You know, like I hate that.
I do want to get to Sekiros's opinion as well. Though. I want to address that as well. But I also agree that there is a way of looking at text from the text versus the subtext, the big ideas and the subtle ideas, and how they can sometimes intersect, how they can switch places, how they
actually.
How do you phrase it?
Okay, all right. Let me see if I can explain it a little better, because I think you might be like missing what I mean. The difference between.
Yeah,
like,
I felt like I needed more information too.
Okay, So let's say, okay, for the sake of example, there was a murder mystery story. Okay, let's say you had some deranged killer that went after like. Let's say vegans, all right? Let's say this was a serial killer that was after... Like, I'm trying to keep it as uncontroversial as possible. And let's say that in the text of the story, he had a methodology. Like, let's say, it happened at this time of day. He has this profession. He was able to slip in because he's married to some high-ranking vegan. There's all these moving parts. There's all these things happening.
Okay.
Some people like on entry-level analysis, it's just what are the things happening, how complicated, but also how well do they fit together. It's like handing one event over to the next. You know what I mean? It is the flow of the physical apparatuses within the story. You know.
So you're talking about the mechanical plot devices in the narrative. Is that correct?
Yeah, it could be like level of complexity, level of depth. It is meant to be how many moving parts and how well do they fit together. You know what I mean? It is just
okay. Yeah,
that's what I mean when I say context. So like Drive. Okay. It's a dude. He gets into some cool action scenes. He hits a guy over the head with a nail and a bullet or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it goes through these points.
Yeah.
But then you have when I say subtext, I talked about so what does the thing mean? So for Drive, this is a person that doesn't know how to person properly, and he's kind of taken both an influence from the fact that he worked in a lot of movies as a stunt coordinator. But it's also about how he is perceived by this woman that he's taken interest in, and he's come to realize his place within the whole dynamic, especially with the fact that there's a whole like mafia deal gone wrong and some like colleague he's working with, and that would be the subtext. It's less about the things happening and more about the symbolism of the things happening. That's like layer 2 to the whole thing.
Yeah,
I mean, you could say there's a third and fourth layer, but that they start to bleed out from the second layer. But the first layer is like the foundation, and I feel like a lot of I know there's directors out there that purposely want to be obtuse by avoiding that first layer and just immediately jump into layer 2. Like they might make a movie where a person does a thing, but contextually it just makes no sense, but it's for the sake of that second layer. And that's the thing I take issue with.
Okay,
that's exactly. Sorry, I just. Yeah, no, like, and you said, and you're kind of saying it. You hit the nail on the head, is what I'm trying to say, because context is really important. Like, obviously, we can't compare a murder mystery to a avant-garde art exploration. Like they have different purposes and they have different things that they're trying to convey. And I think that also kind of speaks into another, not layer, but another kind of idea that we've been kind of tiptoeing around, which is that I believe all art is political. And what I mean by that is I mean that all art has a point of view because it's made by people. People are fallible creatures with opinions and thoughts and ways that they think of reality, things they think are good and things they think are bad. Even if they're not even thinking about those things while they're making the art, those things influence how they make the thing, because art isn't made in a vacuum. And that can be just as interesting of an analysis, is looking at like what the author or what the piece considers to be a good thing or a bad thing, or why a piece prefers to use this shot or this idea versus this. And that's where you get into what I really love about film analysis, which is kind of like the conversation of going like, what are the larger truths here? Like, what are we really trying to get out of this thing?
Right, and I think one thing too we're discussing as well, not just the ideas, like again, I think also all art is political because it reflects the times and mentalities that created it. But going back to what Sekiros was saying, you're looking at it more from the functionality of how you balance plot versus messaging and theme. And I think a work that really embodies plot device in service of ideas without even clear communication what those ideas are some of the works of David Lynch. And I think it's one of the best examples of it, because David Lynch
David Lynch.
David Lynch film's incredible. Yeah, his works are incredible. And his work mainly focused on communicating a feeling more than necessarily a clear-cut idea. There really isn't a clear message in Eraserhead. A lot of people have come up with interpretations of it, but there's not like a clear idea there. It's more a set of associated feelings in visual poetry that leads you to think certain ways about fatherhood, about family units, about our connections with other people, about our sense of self-destruction. And I think it's, or fear of being replaced, or fear of moving away from things. There's a lot of ideas you can take from Eraserhead. And Inland Empire, even more so. These are works that don't really make much sense from the functionality elements of plot. The devices don't quite match up. The characters don't feel correct in the narrative associated with it. And as a result, you end up kind of feeling this sense of confusion, a sense of uncertainty. Yet the films are all fantastic to some degree.
I think here's the thing. I've been watching a little bit of Twin Peaks.
Mm-hmm.
I think I got to episode 4, 5, or 6.
Oh, you still have to go a little deeper in.
Oh my god!
Gotta get deeper in that Red Lodge.
Okay.
Gotta dive in the Red Lodge more.
Okay. But like, from what I could gather from what I have seen, even though he's very avant-garde, I feel like he still has the foundation. Like, even when the weird stuff's happening, it's like there's still an investigation. There's still this I'm double checking. There was a girl that was murdered in the story.
Yep.
That's the whole. Yep. Basically,
that's the inciting incident.
That through line carries each episode
So
across, even when the weird stuff starts. It's like there's that tethering. And as I said before, and I'm gonna keep going back to this film, Only God Forgives. It nearly has no tethering. It's like things are just happening that looks like it should almost be making sense, but it doesn't have a through line to any of it.
Well, that is true.
Well, I think there needs to. I think there needs to be, some kind of intent. Even if the intent is no intent, there needs to be kind of a consistency in context of what someone's trying to do. Like David Lynch, I believe, said in an interview something like, people always say like I make weird movies, but these movies make complete sense to me. Like he just sees the world that way, and he makes movies reflecting just his unique way of looking at the world. And I find that honestly fascinating, because I don't know, maybe it's because I like postmodern bullshit or whatever. I just think it's really interesting.
Yeah, people are making comments saying we should probably play the video so we don't have to have this still frame of this poor creator's like mouth half open about to start talking. But I agree, it's all really interesting discussion, and I think we're going to engage with these ideas as we watch this video. But I do want to read some super chats, so just to stare at the screen a little bit more with this frozen image of beginning to talk but not being able to.
They seem nice.
They seem really cool. This user seems pretty neat. I'm not gonna lie. So give him a like on this video. Because I'm bored. Speaking of Frankenstein, did you see the new trailer? Yes, I did. I cannot wait to see it. I am so hyped for Guillermo del Toro to finally make his Frankenstein film. Scorpion Wolf. High school was like an IRL version of The Great Gatsby. Only I couldn't tell whether I was Nick or Gatsby. Well, that's very fair, actually. Jay Wong.
I was a Nick for sure.
I definitely was not. I definitely was neither of them. I'll say that right now. I was someone in the background of the party.
Sure, yeah.
I was someone at the background of the party. You didn't talk to anyone. That was me. Jay Wong. I hate those recap or X explained videos. Yeah, I agree. They're kind of exhausting. Meow Neon, thank you for super chat. I remember talking with a friend about Lord of the Flies. He mentioned that Golding dismissed the whole Simon Jesus allegory and Death of the Innocents theme. Any truth to this, or does it even matter? I couldn't tell you. I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't think it really matters if he agreed with it or didn't agree. I think ultimately the book stands on its own terms of just its story of isolation, of fear, of survival of the fittest, of what happens when society breaks down. Those are all interesting ideas and visuals in the story. Nahuel, isn't finding an answer in the curtains not the same as saying it's the one and only answer? Rejecting finding an answer seems like rejecting all analysis. That's very true. You're onto something there. That's the case. Rejecting any answer. Exactly. Rejecting
the
any
personal reflection that we have, yeah.
Exactly. Rejecting any answer is, anti-intellectualism ultimately. By Giappio Dera, another example is why is the whale in Moby Dick colored white? It's just to differentiate that he is different from the other whales for the vengeance of Ahab. Yeah, that's true. And to give a nice white whale alliterative statement too. And it's also meant to be ghostly, meant to be like drained of blood, of like supernatural in a way, because the whole idea of the whale being God, and and Ahab being the devil basically, which is also text, not just subtext in Moby Dick. He was Melville was very deliberate with his language there. Jay Wong, the creator of Drive, is a huge fan of Jodorowsky, and Only God Forgives is his take. Yeah, I can see Jodorowsky influences there, especially Santa Sangre in Only God Forgives. Sekiros, you ever see Santa Sangre or anything by Jodorowsky?
I don't think I have.
It's weird ass circus movie. I'll say that with Santa Sangre. It's you gotta hand it to Jodorowsky on that one. He really knew how to lend a hand in that film. Really took an arm and an arm in that movie. You really is a stretch at times in that film. What happens? If you've seen that movie, my jokes are hilarious. Terminal Sanity.
I'll check it out. You're making me want to see it.
Oh, it's great. It's unhinged. It's completely nuts. Terminal Sanity. Although Jodorowsky himself is a terrible person, his films are great. Terminal Sanity. Giant swords in anime and manga. How many owe their inspiration to Berserk's humble demon slayer? A lot. I would say almost all of them. Cloud Stripes, for one, definitely is owes a lot to Berserk. The Wave Runners. I'd rather there be art that fumbles making something deep than no art trying at all. Bad media can also have good things in it too. Yes, 100% agree with that. Yes, correct.
I agree.
I think that it's better for art to try than to never try at all. One reason why I like Ed Wood's films to a degree.
I love weird movies that's like not even like classically bad movies, but like weird movies that like are just not good. But I'm like, God, I've never seen this before. Like, you totally messed this up. Like, I'm a big defender of Tusk. I don't know if it's a good movie or not. It's probably not a good movie, but it's also so weird. I kind of like it. So I totally get what you mean by that.
In terms of Kevin Smith's horror, Red State's actually a really good film too. I think there's a lot to it. But it is also a very weird movie. I don't know if it's any good. I've seen it a couple times. I don't know if it's good, but I like it. Also, it's John Goodman.
Good and interesting are not always the same thing.
True. Plus, as John Goodman, you can't go wrong with John Goodman. He's always he elevates any movie he's in. The Guy 493, a good litmus test. Starship Troopers. Yeah, book of the film. Go take it.
I like both. I especially like.
Oh, same.
I think this is going to sound a bit outlandish. I think there was something a bit like wholesome about like the movie because it's like it's taking like the veneer of this life fascist state, but like everyone's like kind of like equal in it, and like they're all like. I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. It's very preppy or whatever. I don't know.
I hear you there. Okay, let's speed through these super chats so we can get the story of this video. I'm getting uncomfortable staring at their open mouth as well. Arthur Clybourne writes, I'm the kind of person who reads meaning into the Jeremy Renner hot sauce from Glass Onion, so this topic is perfect for me. Oh, hell yeah, I love that. I mean, there's some meaning there. Especially now that Jeremy Renner's in the next movie in that series, so I digress. Nick Wolf, this reminds me, when Fury Road came out, many theorized Tom Hardy was the feral kid from Mad Max 2, not Max. Like, good fanfic, but not the movie's text. I think Tarantino also said that too, which, I mean, it's a good theory, but again, it's not the text of the film. By Chiappi Odera. The great thing about this, they are both right, that being both you, Madeline, and you, Sekiros. So yeah, that's true. You both are right in this case.
Aww. Friendship.
Yeah.
Aww.
Because I'm bored, this topic kind of reminds me of the guy on Silent Hill forums who insisted that Silent Hill 4 was about the horrors of circumcision. I don't see that one.
That's every movie that you've ever seen is about the horrors of circumcision. That's true.
Especially the Big Lebowski. I mean,
especially the Big Lebowski. Well, that one is actually about the horrors of circumcision.
That really is. And then we come into Cuddlefield Johnson. I love that movie.
Frankenstein, also horrors of circumcision. Actually, yeah, you're right. Every movie is about circumcision.
What about Jurassic Park?
Yes. Oh my God, especially.
Oh God. Okay.
They literally they do something to those dinosaurs' genitals. I can tell you that.
Anyway,
you cracked the code.
Well, all the dinosaurs. Okay. Angels Art and Gaming. I've had a chance with fox ears, and I've had a character with fox ears and a tail since I was a teen. Over time, she actually became an allegory for autism, especially mine, because things are loud. She stands out, and yet she's proud. I like that detail. It's a nice detail. I like that. It's cute. I like that too.
Autistic kids unite. That's all I'm gonna say.
Autism unite.
We love each other.
Nick Wolf. I can't press play, and I must scream. We'll come to this soon. They'll be able to scream soon. I love that. Baichi Epiadera. Gods, I wish I was in voice with you there, with you three. Don't Baichi. Next time we'll have you in voice. Don't worry about a thing. I have to get you on this server with the voice chat anyway. Now, well, given what you've said thus far, what do you think about the less talked about part of the death of the author essay? That it's impossible to truly discern the intentions of the author from the text. That's also true. It is hard. We've mentioned that before. It is hard to tell true intentionality unless the author tells you their intentionality. That's also very true. Anyone who says otherwise without authorial detail is making a bit of a misconstruing of the text right there, usually.
Well, I think I can say this from just experience. Like, I also write and create things. I don't just do video essays. I also make stuff. And I honestly love it when I show somebody something that I've made and they're like, oh, this kind of reminds me of this. Like, oh, wow, I didn't think about that at all, but I think you're right. That's interesting. Or they come up, I don't know. I feel like most artists, I mean, maybe, I don't know, apocryphal. I feel like most artists are probably really stoked when people get all sorts of interpretations from what they wrote. I think that's really cool that something I make can start a conversation. I don't get mad when people you got it wrong. No, I don't. I think it's interesting to have different ways of looking at something.
I agree with that. Okay, gonna read the last couple super chats real quick. Tamarade of Imbar, Dono to spread infinite X Meta Mongoose. Okay, that's cool. Infinite Meta Mongoose there. Sawesomeness, Tusk is my favorite Kevin Smith movie. And Sam Harden, I'm happy you mentioned Jodorowsky earlier. He's become one of my favorite creators. Have you seen The Holy Mountain by any chance? It's very wild. Yes, I have seen The Holy Mountain. It is insane.
On my list for a while.
It's great. Anyway, let's actually press play and allow this poor creator to stop having their mouth open.
Have you seen this Tumblr post? Yeah, this one. My number one enemy. My sleeper agent activation phrase. The curtains were fucking blue. This post has made its way around the internet countless times since being originally posted in 2011, morphing into common vernacular and casual internet interaction even today. This may be a phrase you've heard a million times, or you have no clue what I'm talking about and you're really confused. But either way, I'm going to explain it to you in depth, how the phrase functions as propaganda, and how you can combat that propaganda by being aware of how and why it works in the way that it does. I'm sure a lot of us know that the internet is a catalyst for spreading information quickly and effectively, regardless of how true or harmful that information may be. As someone who's part of a generation of digital natives, a group of people who have been essentially raised online, it can be really easy to get lost in the internet and in thinking we know how it works inside and out. However, no one is immune to falling for something at face value, and no one is immune to propaganda. While I do think that the internet can be used to spread information in a positive way, it is often used, even if unintentionally, to promote ideologies in a way that functions very similarly to, if not exactly like, propaganda. One of the biggest victims of this rapid spread of information has been intellectualism and critical thinking, and it's done through mostly something called a thought-terminating cliche. The promotion of anti-intellectualism and this insistence that the curtains are blue and that it's not that deep, or that you should just put the fries in the bag, bro, is equally as concerning to me as it is interesting. I'm going to discuss what these concepts all have to do with each other and what they mean for pretty much anybody who has access to the internet in any way. There are...
Okay, let's take a stop right there for a second. I agree with that.
I agree with everything. If I were to make this video, it would be exactly the same. I agree with all this.
Because the phrase does shut down critical thought. By saying
yes,
you don't have to think about it too much, just enjoy it, the movie, it's telling you not to engage with art, to take it at surface level. And as a result, what we're seeing is art that's we're seeing consumers who are increasingly interested in spectacle over messaging. Sekros, what do you think of that one, too? Do you have a similar opinion? Do you agree, disagree?
I think it depends what you're in it for, to be honest.
That's fair, too.
I think some people unironically do want to receive the spectacle of the matter. But I think spectacle comes in many forms, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't... Like, for example, you could talk about Michael Bay and how, like, Transformers is just, buildings exploding, big fire effects, pyrotechnics, you know how it is. But then you might want spectacle in a very different sense. Like, are you familiar with the Saw series?
Oh yeah, I'm familiar with. I have seen some Saw. I've seen Saw.
Okay, yeah, you're Madeline, you know?
Madeline, do you see Saw too? You see Saw? Sorry, I couldn't resist that stupid pun. I love it.
I have to. Oh, my roommate needs me to move the car, so you guys can keep talking and watch.
Glorious. Let's see some Saw. Okay, go on the Saw. See.
Okay, so here's the thing. There's two different bits of spectacle that Saw has that attracts two very different crowds. You have the people that are really, really into like the gory aspect of it. They're like, I mean, they're just in it for like just the gratuitousness. But there's a more undercurrent, not as common like group of people that unironically watch it for the complexity of like the actual story and like maybe the symbolism of like the fact that these are people kind of facing their own sins almost.
Mm-hmm.
There's like, oh, this person's associated with this person and this device had this component which, I mean, there's a lot of this interconnectiveness between the movies, even if sometimes they do kind of do a few arsefuls or whatever, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that is also spectacle. Like that is because technically speaking, it could be either like 100 IQ to 500 IQ, and neither end of that spectrum would necessarily tether itself to the subtext of anything more messaging based. So that would fall under spectacle, I think. Does that make sense?
No, 100%. I think it's important also to note that a film can be both spectacle and deep, and that audiences can take both messaging. I think the difficulty here is less that a film needs to be deep or needs to be spectacle, but more that by countering those who wish to dig deeper with that statement, that could be a problem. Like, so for example, what I mean by that is this. You say it yourself, there's multiple ways to enjoy the Saw films. You can watch it as on a deeper level, or you can watch it as just fun, you know? Both are acceptable ways to watch it. But if every time someone went into Saw trying to look at the deeper messages and they always received the response, oh, hey, don't think about it too hard, just a movie, relax, that might be a bit more dismissive. That's where the issue comes in for me, I think. Less that...
I'm back.
Oh, you're back. Welcome.
That is exactly the issue I've always faced when discussing, like, the actual Saw movies. Because, like, when I say, oh, I enjoy the Saw movies, like, the thought that comes in everyone's head is, he just likes the gore, it's all this and this. And I'm like, dude, I couldn't care less about the gore. There could be a goreless version of Saw and I would still watch it for the complexity. You know what I mean? That's not why I watch it.
Yeah.
That's not why you see Saw?
I've
I
argued
can't resist
with
the joke. I'm sorry.
yeah, I've literally argued with my college professor over this shit. You know, like
Oh,
he
yeah.
thinks that he says it's trash. He says it's you know it's popcorn schlock. Which hey, technically, I mean on the surface, yeah, I could kind of see it, but like the actual the fact that there was all this interconnectedness, it meant a lot to me as like a viewer for that it could show me how deep like a conspiracy rabbit hole goes in like narrative structure. You know what I mean? And I feel like
Exactly.
very few other franchises even come close per se.
I think to an extent, I think consistently Saw is pretty good with that. I think
Except maybe Metal Gear. Metal Gear series definitely goes a lot deeper, I think.
well,
Like,
Metal
that's
Gear is
just-
very different. Like Saw, I would not say is the deepest franchise. I wouldn't even say it's the deepest horror franchise.
in complexity. I'm not talking about like symbolism or like.
Neither am I. Neither am I.
Okay.
In
I
terms
mean,
of moving
again,
parts,
we're kind
you
of
know.
just throwing. I mean, that's what's so. I mean, we're just kind of throwing like words out that have like so many different meanings to so many different people.
Mhm.
Like, what does deep mean to somebody versus what does deep mean to somebody else? Which is why I feel like a lot of times these conversations kind of become two people yelling past each other. Because
Agreed.
we all kind of have our own idea of like what's good, what's bad, what's real cinema, what's fake cinema, and we just kind of just scream words out at each other, and no one's saying anything.
But even in
And
that
I think
discussion,
that's the
though,
problem with
well,
trying to.
I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
cut you off there. I was okay off there, but
Well, I was trying to I
oh,
think that has to do with like the idea of trying to like create strict definitions for film. Like I feel like there's this need to be like, this is what this means, this is what that means, you know, like. But that's not what art is.
Well, I think
like-
the other problem too is we're looking for an answer, and the thing also is
Yes.
this entire discussion is about art. It's about the ideas. That's why I made this a panel as opposed to me just yapping my mouth off the whole time. The idea that art is meant to be interpretive through discussion, through engagement, is so vital. You need multiple viewpoints at the table. For one person to shut down the discussion, that's where the problems come in. If you just say you can't discuss this, just have a good time, turn your brain off, every time complexity comes up, what it ends up doing is it prevents you from actually engaging with the ideas in question. At least in my opinion, anyway. That's what I think.
It is. No, I
Yeah.
think it's the same thing that the quote unquote elitists do that the people imagine. I think it's just
Agreed.
doing it the opposite way. You know, like somebody saying, "Oh, the only real film is Citizen Kane," whoever that person,
Yeah.
if that person even still exists anymore.
Yeah.
I think that's the same thing as saying the only real films are blockbuster movies. I think those are the same. Those are the same point. That's the
Okay.
same thought process.
All right, Madeline, Secrus, I'm going to leave the conversation to you for a second. I got to run to the bathroom. I'll be right back. So
thing.
Hi.
just entering the audience. I have full faith in you.
Hello.
Nothing bad will happen, I'm sure. You got this. I'll be back. Oh, sorry.
Hello, everyone.
That's a lot of responsibility.
That's fine. I mean, yeah, like I love film. I love media. I love analyzing things. You know, I mean, that's why I try to get onto these particular streams when Ant does them, because I'm very passionate, and I feel like there's a lot of bad information that gets spread around as like fact or truth about how to look at art, and I always want to push back on that.
I agree.
What are your thoughts on?
I mostly
I thi-
like just come on these just to like get my mind like off of what I'm currently doing at the moment.
That's a great reason to do it. I just like yelling. I don't know. I get excited and it's fun.
I have like a lot of opinions on like story writing in general. I feel like I don't know, like I'm in a middle ground between viewing how other people do things, but then also like kind of getting more obsessed on doing my own thing, you know?
Right. Yeah, I find like how you describe like how you write your stories and how you think about writing. I find very interesting because I feel like I used to be closer to how you write than I am currently now, which is not like a good or a bad thing. It's just like I feel like I've gone from being more like mechanical about thinking about art, and I've kind of become much more like I don't know, flowy. Like I went from like thinking of a story to being like a finely tuned computer to thinking that a story should be like a river that just kind of is always moving and always going. Like I don't like to think about like 3-act structure or any of that kind of stuff. I just like if it's moving, if it's doing what it's supposed to do, that's fine. And that just has become kind of how I think about writing. Just trying to get it all to
back.
move around.
I feel what you mean. I think on an ideal sense, in the way I view like story writing, I feel like if I was to say what a perfect story would look like, at least from my perspective, it would definitely be kind of like a perfect balance between like subtext, but also kind of that certain level of unpredictability within almost like a life simulation, almost like where things kind of look like they're going a certain direction, but maybe they don't because some other happenstance kind of clashes with it, and it kind of shows a certain level of futility, but also trying to keep the viewer guessing as much as possible, I think. Because here's the thing, if I know what the next scene is going to be, when I was younger, I used to kind of think that the medium itself kind of failed for the fact that if I could predict it, then, you know what I mean, they haven't kept me guessing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. But so yeah, this is a good conversation. Let's dive in some super chats because there's a lot that came up, and I'll respond to some people who paid money to have the questions asked. Okay, user 225. I get really creative with my ideas in my sleep. One time I dreamed I was playing a first-person shooter game where the level was set on a giant space weapon made from the body of a dead god. That sounds amazing. I love that idea.
That's Xenogears.
That's Xenogears, basically. Yeah, right? Or Evangelion in some senses. Iron, thank you for Super Chat. What's your feel on bisexual lighting / lava lamps? Like all visual techniques, it depends on how it's used, I guess, in the right context, I guess. I do think some people over apply that messaging in a way that's unclear, that we're referring to certain color schemes. But again, I digress. Adrian Parchman, I was just watching Nice Opinion, a YouTuber give it to you by Gazpacho1. I also second that one. I think it's a really cool video. I think you should watch it. It's really, really good. By Chiepio Dera, and I might actually play that next because I think that's a good idea for the messaging as well. By Chiepio Dera, the only problem is they are equating a thought experiment to propaganda. It has been hijacked as such, but it's also about pulling you out of the deep. That's also true. These focuses allow you to recontextualize your thoughts so you avoid looking at the tiny fine details to distract you. That's true. But the problem is that with most anti-intellectual techniques and methods is that it pulls you out of it because it's designed to function a certain way. It's designed to make you think a certain way. And that's problematic, I think.
It's distracting too. I think it forces a conversation that's not important to anything.
Yeah. I agree. It makes the conversation pointless. I agree. Mr. Nemo, Sora, Square Enix or Disney? Media question. Square Enix. Entirely Square Enix.
What, for just in general?
Yeah, is Sora a Square Enix character or a Disney character?
Oh, Square Enix.
Yeah, right? Basic. I agree. Sekiro's, any disagreement there?
I think I might have lost track of the conversation.
Yeah.
Kingdom Hearts.
Is Sora a Square Enix character or a Disney character?
Oh, Sora is definitely more leaning towards like Final Fantasy, but like I kind of view him like he just kind of has his own thing going on.
Yeah, that's fair. By Chippy Dara, thought experiment
exists outside of time and space.
Exactly. And finally, two last things real quick. By Chippy Odera, thought experiments have no right / wrong answer. Agreed. And Iron, lava lamps. Yeah, I love lava lamps. All right, let's just dive into I love lamp. Let's dive into this video real quick.
Play the video. Let's go.
Let's go.
There are a lot of definitions that we have to cover to have this discussion, but they're going to be sprinkled throughout the video as I go on, since getting through all of them at once would be, frankly, pretty boring. However, the first definition I'm going to get into is anti-intellectualism, since there's been a huge discussion about it as a concept online over the past few years, and I really want to be sure that everyone's on the same page about what it actually means. Anti-intellectualism is the act of, quote, opposing or hostile to intellectuals or to an intellectual view or approach as defined by the Merriam-Webster dictionary. It's not only a refusal to engage with critical aspects of media consumption, but active aggression towards those who do. Anti-intellectualism is not someone just disagreeing with your analysis or not seeing your side, but a purposeful dismissal and strong negative attitude towards that analysis and critical thinking. Anti-intellectualism is still, however, a very common idea that is spread very casually, even if the person spreading it isn't fully conscious of what they're doing. It can spread really easily for a pretty large number of reasons. One of the major reasons for anti-intellectualism is that it's a form of protest. To reject what you're told by authorities, especially when you're younger, is quite common and probably something a lot of us are familiar with, including myself. This rejection of authority often makes it easier for young people to fall into the trap of rejecting critical thinking as well, because it's something that they're taught to do from a young age. Anti-intellectualism is an easy form of retaliation, especially when a person feels less than. If someone is threatened by the perceived intelligence of someone that they're in a room with, whether that's because they've been made to feel that way or because they might be dealing with some form of insecurity, they might react with anger or pushback.
Yeah, that's a big thing too. A lot of people do react to intellectual discussion with anger. Case in point, a lot of people get frustrated in English classes, you know. I'm sure everyone here has been to high school and middle school where someone gets really fed up with a text or the teacher says something that you just, maybe you yourself have this experience, but you don't see what they're saying. It doesn't make any sense to you. And your reaction is frustration.
I think it kind of comes back to my point about context and subtext. Like when you're a kid and you're like made to read these books like The Great Gatsby and this and that, I feel like what they have effectively done is they've thrown a load of kids into the deep end. And I feel like, here's the thing, all right? If they got a book that was like interesting on a conceptual level from the outset, they would have an easier time easing them into the more subtextual, like philosophical kind of like books selling. Because at the moment, like Wuthering Heights, I'm made to read that and I'm like, okay, some dude gets angry at some sort of like class status that he comes back later with a load of cash and acts like a real a-hole. Like that's, you know what I mean? Like that as a kid, that's like the most boringest plot ever. But
well, I wonder if what you're saying is like part of just like, or at least, you know, here in America, it's kind of like the balance of like trying to explain ideas like that and like like you said, the big capitalist regime that makes us not want to think too broadly about things.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder if there's like a balancing act for teachers in that sense.
And people in the comments are also bringing up some teachers are just assholes. You know what I'm saying? Like some teachers are just assholes. It's just that simple.
You know? Bad teachers, yeah.
Yeah, some teachers just mean.
I think it's just a failure of book choice, to be honest. I mean, in this very particular
well, if you have
case,
a bad teacher in a good book, that's still going to affect it. I think it's like
I mean, I think one thing a lot of teachers do that's wrong with Shakespeare, and this is something I brought up in a previous video too, with and Red from OSP said the same thing, so I will cite her as a reference in this case. The teachers just tell you to read the play. You know, they tell you to read Shakespeare and not watch Shakespeare. You know, so much of Shakespeare's plays is lost if you don't have a performance with you. And that right there is teaching a text wrong. And almost every English class in America does it the same way. Just read it and not see what the visual associated with it is. Don't have an actor perform it. You know, that ruins it in many cases. You don't get the full scope of what's happening.
That's the education system of form over function. It's like why you spend so much time learning cursive when no one has ever had to use cursive since I can remember.
Exactly.
It's like it's tradition, it's form. It's like, and especially now, it's what you can answer on a spreadsheet for a multiple choice quiz. Like that's the kind of stuff that we're taught to use our knowledge for, when that's not beneficial to anyone, especially our understanding of art.
Exactly. And there's certain, and again, the thing is also some teachers just don't explain it well. They jump into this big word explanation. And I saw some people in the comments also mentioning that certain YouTubers, certain academics, certain intellectuals, they'll use these big fancy SAT words to explain simple concepts or specific concepts.
I love that.
Oh yeah,
I love the people. They're so well. They're also bad. Like a lot of like really
Serendipitous.
dumb people use big words too to try to sound smarter, and I think that's extremely funny.
some do, some don't. Some are really good people, some are really bad people, and it just depends on the execution. And a lot of people just use it as a common ground to say, okay, here's the idea. And what I might interpret as a big word, you might not interpret as a big word, and vice versa. There's certain words that I just use all the time, like paradoxical and all that, which I don't think of as big words. But someone might hear that and go, well, that's a weird word. Why would you use that word? When you just say doesn't make sense or it's confusing or strange. And with language, there's a strength to simplicity. There's a skill involved in making something big sound simple. That's a talent. It's a skill that not everyone has. And some academics can't boil down big ideas into simple language. One of the reasons why Stephen Hawking was so well known was not because he was necessarily the smartest guy in the room, but he was this guy who could sell his intelligence to the public with the most ease. He could boil down his big ideas into language that was accessible to some degree. And that's the same thing that Neil deGrasse Tyson does too. I would say neither are the smartest scientists in the world, or were in the case of Stephen Hawking, but they could communicate the big ideas simply enough so that people can understand. That's the big difference.
This comes back to my argument of foundationalism. It's like there needs to be the foundation for people to grasp onto before they climb up. It's like a set of stairs,
That's true. That's very true. Okay. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I guess kind of going back to the video. The other thing that I think is interesting about what they're talking about is this kind of push of anti-intellectualism, which again I think that goes kind of more into propaganda, where instead of promoting anti-intellectualism, what it's promoting is being inside of the community or outside of the community.
Yeah.
Like, I think a lot of times when we say something or we try to very much push a certain way of thinking about something, it's code for like, are you one of us or are you not one of us? Which is, I think, why these really dumb conversations happen, because someone's like, oh, do you think this? That means you're not part of this group. Our group believes this. And I think that's really what fuels a lot of this more than anything.
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment. It's no surprise that the Nazis, for example, focused on form over messaging. The form of
form over function.
The form over function.
Yep. Goes all back.
Yeah, the form it took, as opposed to what was actually behind it, the mechanics, the ideas. This is one of the reasons why Shakespeare's art sucks so much. Not Shakespeare. Hitler's art sucks so much because it was terrible.
Maybe Shakespeare was a good painter. I don't know.
I don't know if Shakespeare was good painting, but I mean, Hitler's art was terrible, not because it looked ugly, but because it was poorly formed. The eye lines are all mixed up. The horizons don't make sense. The windows don't work. It's one of those things where you look at it and you're like, okay, at first glance it looks fine, but then you break it down and you're like, actually, none of this makes visual sense.
Well, he wasn't an interesting person. He just didn't think very largely about anything, really.
Except for liking dogs. That was about it.
Aw.
You like dogs. That's the only compliment I can give the guy. Controversial take, Hitler was pretty bad.
If you like dogs, you have something in common with Hitler. Remember that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, controversial take. That Hitler guy, not so nice.
I'm sorry, you like dogs in Nazi?
You're basically just Hitler. You're basically Hitler if you like dogs.
Yeah, basically Hitler. Yeah.
A couple super chats real quick. Protomorphid. Sora is a Final Fantasy protag with a Disney protag's heart. That's very true. And Nick Wolf. Remember when Joss Whedon made a Much Ado film at his house, and we thought it was cool in 2012, but now it's arguably worse than reading it. Hashtag Branagh Peak. Yes, 100%. Kenneth Branagh's Much Ado About Nothing is the superior version. You may be thinking, isn't it the one with Keanu Reeves? Yeah, it is. That's part of the appeal.
All of Kenneth Branagh's Shakespeare adaptations are really good. So.
Even when they're not great, they're fascinating.
Yeah,
I agree. Nick Wolf, again. Not even Lupin III wants Hissler's paintings. Agree. Yeah, exactly. Author Clybourne writes, anti-intellectualism especially bothers me because we have an unprecedented ability to learn things. That's so true. Online, you have so much you can read. We have access to a library of information unlike any other previously. Agreed. All right, back to this video, then we're going to go on to some other videos as well.
They'll come up with something like the curtains are fucking blue as a way of regaining their footing or reclaiming some kind of power in a threatening social situation. This could be in a classroom, in a small group of friends, or in a reblog comment on Tumblr. However, even though this reaction can start from somewhere that's natural, this is incredibly unproductive and does more harm to the person enacting that defense mechanism than it can be to the person on the receiving end. Promoting anti-intellectualism both within yourself and towards others can even go as far as being dangerous in a world where attentiveness, awareness, and questioning the world around you is more important than ever. The internet is the perfect breeding ground for both anti-intellectualism and retaliation, since it's easily accessible to post or read posts by others. It's a format based on reactionary responses and emotional outburst. Social media is free in the financial sense. I'm posting this video completely free for anyone to watch. The only thing you have to spend to be here is your time, and that's something everyone has, albeit something incredibly valuable. There are countless platforms for interactions, think pieces, and general discussions between groups of people that may not usually be talking to each other in a real-life setting, whether that's due to things like demographic, location, age, etc. There is a beauty in being able to express yourself online and to communicate with others. It's something I do almost every day, and something we're doing together right now.
Yeah, that's a fair point as well. And again, this kind of ties with the question we had before. We have an unprecedented ability to learn things, but we also have an unprecedented ability to discuss things, which means that high-end academic discussion of literature overlaps with people just talking about like memes and stuff. And now they kind of go hand in hand. People online were talking about, people in the comments talking about, specifically I think I saw Movie Bob and Jesse Gender were discussed as well. I have different opinions of the work of each, and I have different opinions. I think I have a lot of respect for both to a degree.
I do not like Movie Bob. I think...
Yeah, I don't like Movie Bob.
I'm not going to say anything negative about Movie Bob here. I think okay. I do disagree with...
Oh, I will. That's fine.
I do disagree with his Scream review quite a bit, though, which I've said a couple times in the past.
You know, I'll even be super controversial. I think Jesse Gender's a very, very nice person. We follow each other on.
I think Jesse
Gender's
really cool. I think her videos are really good. I think.
I kind of go back and forth on her. That's the most controversial thing I'm going to say in my life, probably.
Yeah, maybe that may be. Yeah.
Sometimes I think sometimes she just it's not quite that interesting what she's saying. Like I feel like a lot of times when I'm watching her, it feels more like either a very shallow like reading of something, or it's like it's so basic. I'm like, you didn't like. I feel like I could have just read this instead. Like it's not.
I don't know if I agree with that.
I feel like sometimes she's not as substantial. Or, but again, that's just my point. I think she's very nice, and she seems like a good person.
I don't agree with that one. I think she has a lot of really good things to say. I think she's really, really interesting in a lot of her...
I think sometimes I'm like, this is like, I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, this doesn't need to be 2 hours.
My videos are long too, so I can't make fun of anyone for that.
I think Jesse is very like smart and analytical, but sometimes I do believe they definitely like BS a little. Like I remember they did a.
I don't know about that.
They did a video once, and they quote unquote said it was not a hit piece, but like on a causality level, it was definitely a hit piece. It's like it's like marketing. It's like you can't say a thing is not a thing, then have it actually be the thing. Like on a consequential level, it just doesn't. It just doesn't compute,
I don't agree with that. I think a lot of Jesse's like videos are really, really good. And honestly, sometimes you gotta like. Here's the thing, also with media discussion in general. Sometimes you gotta hit something or a person to like get a good argument going. Sometimes you gotta criticize people to make a point. It's inevitable with some ideas, especially in this discussion. So Jesse's videos, I think, are really solid. Personally, I'm a big fan of her work. I think that, but I think what people are getting at though is the discussion of whether or not, and also like the thing also is with this discussion, and I think my point bringing them both up is that different people can have interpretations of the academic level discussed in both of their content. I think they have very different perspectives. I think they both have some very distinct ideas. I would never call either basic at all. I think they both have a lot of complex ideas that they present in their work. I think I have a lot of respect for my fellow video essayists. I'll put it that way. Even if I don't agree with everything they say, I have a lot of respect for their work.
No, I think that's the safe answer that I should also have, but I don't, because there's something fundamentally wrong with me as a person, and I accept that, and you all should too. It's Pride Month, but what I want to kind of,
I wouldn't say it's safe. I would say it's because safe implies that, and again, this comes into the discussions of.
Okay, you're. It's correct. What you're doing is good and correct.
I'm not saying that either.
I could just do it, but. I don't. Whenever I see somebody, no matter how if they're a peer of mine or if they're famous, I have to be like, I love you, but I disagree, and I need to tell everyone. Which I can just not do that, but I wish I had that ability to not do that.
Here's the thing too. I think it's important to know. I think that disagreeing is part of the discussion. I mean, I think it's. I think that
I agree.
And I think I would argue that at least Jesse, I think, would agree that you want to. Sometimes you got to disagree with people who you respect, as well as you respectfully, I try to be respectful.
What I love about her? What I love about Jessie Gender is that she is really open to criticism, and she really takes to heart when people disagree with her or have an opinion that's different from her. She really does consider everything said to her, and she learns from she learns from people. I really respect that about her, because very few people on YouTube will do that. Will admit they made a mistake, or they'll actively learn in real time. That's just not a skill you really see, even though you probably should. I really respect her for that.
No, I think that I think Jessie has words English. I think Jessie Gender has a lot of really good videos, and they have a lot of really good arguments that they make. I think that they have I think in general, especially some of the videos deconstructing fascism in media too, I think the fairly recent ones have been really good at that as well, discussing how these ideologies have influenced and infiltrate the core themes of movies that we watch. But that discussion is very important. What I'm getting at, though, is that both of these people exist on the same platform with people like CinemaSins. Looking up Andor will bring you looking up Star Trek or Star Wars, I should say more specifically, will bring up Jessie Gender, Movie Bob, Star Wars Theory, Mauler, and CinemaSins. And they all just exist on the same stage together, even though they're totally ideologically different. All of them are different in their own way. And they're all just there, existing on the same space. And the problem is that we now have this discussion where we don't really know what we're doing. We have all these different ideas, but we don't really know which ones to absorb or assimilate. And we have a lot of anti-intellectual perspective as well.
Well, with this that actually leads into something, going back to this video. They made a point that reminded me of something. The original use of the term media literacy comes from analyzing advertisements, commercials, and propaganda. Mm-hmm. It was when people say media literacy, classically, what they mean is that it's learning to understand things that are meant to convince you of an idea. It's understanding what it means to look at a Coca-Cola ad, what it means to listen to a press briefing from the White House, that kind of stuff. Because that stuff is designed to, for lack of a better word, trick you. It's designed to sell you something. It's designed to sell you a product, an ideology, a war. And it's important to learn how to spot those things so you don't fall for it. Mm-hmm. And that's something that we aren't really taught to do in our society, especially Western society, because it's not beneficial to the powers that be to learn how to combat the thing they want us to just accept. without questioning. And I think that goes into this idea of anti-intellectualism. This idea of like, oh, I'm just going to say a word. What's the most evil thing I can think of? An intellectual person. Which is even like, what do you think about when you think of an intellectual person? Like, do you think of some old guy in a building, college, somewhere saying, I think everything means this and I'm old, blah, blah, blah.
Well, let's be
kind of thing.
honest.
Like, what do you even mean when you say that? And I think that's equally as
Well,
important.
Madeline, let's be honest. What they mean is leftist, liberal.
No, absolutely, but that's also
it's
the point
always
that
a
I'm
political
saying is
thing.
that they're using very specific language to blend those ideas together. They're not saying liberal on purpose because that's part of the act. That's part of the propaganda. Like all of these words are used to create this obtuseness in everything that everyone is conversing about, which is why everybody is yelling past each other, which is why nobody has a real conversation about media, let alone anything on the internet, on social media. And I think what we need to actually have the answer to people like Mahler and Cinema Sins is just, it's critical thinking. That is the thing that needs to be taught, is to understand what you're watching, why you're watching it, what it means, how it's made, etc. These are the things people should understand. Even if you still agree with Mahler after that, good on you. That's your prerogative. But people should like at least understand what's being said and why it's being said.
Right. So I think one thing also worth discussing is that a lot of the time this is used not even in response to real academic perspectives on media. Here's the thing. If it was just used in reference to every time a video essayist, I'm using Jesse Gender as an example, but really it could be Lindsay Ellis, it could be Dan Olson, it could be any number of the it could be ContraPoints, any number of different. I'm just using Jesse Gender because I know she talks about art quite a bit, more so than I think on average than like those other creators, especially pop culture stuff. The argument that would be one thing, but it's also in regards to anything involving representation, anything involving media criticism of any form, saying how something doesn't work all that well. It shuts down critical thought, not just media criticism or media literacy, but also just criticizing something that's just not good or entertaining or satisfying to you, the audience member. It's about embracing the popular consensus as the only option and nothing else. It's about conformity more than anything else. And that's why I say it's often a reference point to more anti-establishment political philosophy. And I think that's one thing that they're going to bring up here too. And a big thing also is a lot of people just take what they hear online and echo it, I'm going to move away from this video because I feel like we've kind of completely divested what's going on right here. But I do want to bring this one up right now.
While you're doing that, I would like to state for the class and for the audience.
Oh boy.
Please. I studied film. I went to academia where the intellectuals that are so evil are. And I studied this stuff with all of those terrible, smelly professors. And what I learned is that these, at least the ones that I went to, I'm sure there's bad institutions like there are anywhere else. But like what I learned from a film and media studies bachelor's degree was that there are so many ways of looking at film and media, and you should never take anything for granted. Like what I learned is that every individual step of something has to be decided, has to be a conscious decision that somebody is making. And all of it could mean everything or nothing, but you cannot just assume nothing is nothing. Like it's important to understand that like how something is made, why it's made, the era in which it's made, the way you think about it, whether this person's politics come into play, whether they don't come into play. And even how a film is presented, or how it's the exposition of media is as important as the media itself. I recommend. I do this all the time. I recommend everybody either read or see the documentary ways of seeing. I think it should be required viewing for anybody that wants to be a video essayist, period. It tells you everything that I'm talking about. And it's just like, hey, did you know that there's like a scale of music? Like, how do you decide like what's like the sound effect of a film versus the score versus this? Like, there's all of these little things done by people that could mean everything or nothing. And you need to understand that. And that's what I learned. That's why it was the hardest fucking. I took classes and like I have no idea what's going on. I watched films that would give Mahler a heart attack and a stroke.
I love how in one stream, Madeline, you have insulted Movie Bob, Jesse Gender, Mahler, and Cinema Sins all at the exact same time. You're running for the gauntlet.
And I mean all of it. I mean every word. They're all evil. No, I don't mean that. That's a joke. That's a joke.
It was really nice.
No. He is nice.
He said she was evil.
No. Movie Bob, though, I don't like his takes. He might be nice. I don't know. He has very weird tweets.
Oh,
but,
no, like Movie Bob's
maybe I just like
okay,
ideas.
before we alienate myself from every single YouTuber.
No, just blame me. Everyone hates me anyway on your fucking show, so it doesn't matter.
Rip.
Blame it on me.
Okay,
I don't care.
okay. Let's, okay, so you heard it here, folks. The opinions of the guests on the Anthony Gramiglia streams do not reflect the opinions of the host of said streams.
It's the hateful trans girl with green hair.
Oh,
that's
God.
saying all of this.
Okay, so that leads us to the next statement. Having opinions. And I do want to bring into... And there's one last video I want to bring up after this that I'm going to bring into it. Now, we're not going to watch the whole thing of. I'm just going to watch a bit of both of these.
I only have 10 minutes left, by the way.
Oh, you only have 10 minutes? Oh, okay. You want to say anything before you go then? Because I feel that's important.
Oh, no, I'm going to stay for the 10 minutes, obviously.
Sounds good. All right, cool.
Yeah. No, it's all good.
All right, good. Okay, we'll bring up then before you go. I want to bring up this to start the discussion.
Eligible for financial compensation. This here is a rare image linked to ego crippling, embarrassment, and getting ratioed. You may have been exposed to this image on YouTube, Reddit, and even Twitter. Please don't wait. Call 444 for a free reality check. So the other night, 2 months ago, this video's been on my back burner, I was playing Marvel Rivals with one of my cohorts in a Discord call, and I stated how I really liked Black Panther, but I didn't like how he isn't a very good character in-game, in which they replied by saying they didn't like the Black Panther movie, and I simply said, well, did you watch it? They did not watch it. And then
Have
inspiration
you not seen freaking Black Panther? Okay, it's not important.
struck. You have no doubt seen this edited image from Spider-Man before. I know that because I literally just showed it to you. Keep up. The original line reads, "That's a cute outfit. Did your husband give it to you?" Immediately started this video with the homophobia. At least it's kind of funny. And the altered one being, "That's a cute opinion. Did a YouTuber give it to you?" But why does this image exist? Most of you dungeon crawlers will probably recognize this as a reaction image. When you don't want to actually formulate an argument but still want to be correct online, you can throw one of these below whoever you're attacking and immediately turn them into a straw man and you as the always correct base Chad that you are. Throughout the years of the internet, dozens of reaction images have been created to all suit different types of niches. See something that makes you a little upset? Boy, is there a variety of funny images to choose from. See something that makes you happy? Someone's art you wish you could make out with? Something that gives you disgust? These basic emotions have no end to how different reaction images can represent them.
Let's go to the point here.
Point, trust me, bro. Have you ever been in that situation where you just hate having to go without entertainment for half an hour while you complete some menial task? A YouTube video essay is sure to fill that void. Most video essays that focus around some type of media like shows, movies, games, are usually of the comprehensive review sort, going over every little nook and cranny of whatever they're discussing.
Can I jump ahead a little bit
Sure,
here?
it was long, but it was poorly researched, so length doesn't really equate to anything here. And that's why length is a poor metric to go off to judge quality. It's my video with the most views. It's my video that is the longest. You would expect it to be the highest quality, but it simply isn't. The only way to judge quality is you yourself judging it. Fact check people when they say shit, or else you'll internalize opinions that are just wrong. Now you're spreading lies on the internet. Now, hold on a second. What about video essays that are longer than the source?
Okay, so the argument here to summarize is that people will watch long videos and assume the person's correct.
Yeah, I mean that sounds like human nature to
Yeah.
me.
Because big
I
video
mean, it's
is
why, like,
big video is smart.
It's why like Secrio. How do you say your name? Secrios?
Yeah.
Secrio. That's why Secrios. You sound like everything you're saying is super smart and correct because of your amazing accent. That's another factor that we're talking
Oh my
about
God.
here. That people just fall for dumb shit like that. Long, authoritative, confident. That's why these alt-right figures talk really fast, because it sounds like they're smart. If they were dumb, they would talk slow. Like, what are you talking about? That makes no sense. But that's unfortunately how, I guess, human brains work. And it's, yeah, I mean, I agree with this point.
Yeah, I think a fine example of this is there would be people that would be in like the production of a film, for example, and they'll be totally okay with the production up until a video essayist talks about that film in a negative light. Then sometimes that person, even though they were already okay with the thing, it's like they get like mentally Mandela'd about their own opinion on a thing and goes, actually, I never thought this thing ever in my life. And then it's like, like five weeks ago, you was like this on the same thing. It's almost like a kind of psyching, if that makes sense. It's like, I remember like being friends with someone involved with the source filmmaking community and Dieter Badachi, and like they'd be like pretty much chill with them. Then one video essayist would like talk about him in a negative light, even though like another video would come along like weeks later debunking after the claims. But it's like within that window of interval, it's all just opinionated flip-flopping. It's just it's just, as you said before, you just have to sound authoritative and you can make anything stick almost.
Yeah, I think the other thing you said about how we kind of, our brains kind of get rewired by things that we watch, whether we realize it or not. I think that's very true. I think one of the most famous examples is the Star Wars prequel reviews from the Red Letter Media. Became like how everyone thought about the Star Wars prequels for a long, long time, and it's only recently that people are like, maybe there's more going on than what the guy with the funny voice said about Star Wars prequels.
I mean, I still think those reviews have a lot of really good points. But I also will argue that
I find myself.
I think they also have a lot of negative
yeah.
traits as well, though.
Yeah, I liked them a lot when I was younger, but I feel like as I've gotten older, I'm like, oh man, now that I kind of know shit, now that I'm not, I don't know. They're not the same to me as they were.
That's valid. That's fair.
What happened with their relationship with Lower Decks? Because at one moment, it was like, I'm double checking. Is it CBS that owns Star Trek, or am I thinking of
Paramount?
Paramount, which is owned by which I think Paramount owns CBS though.
Yeah, like if I remember correctly, like they did a parody of Star Trek writing, and then Lower Decks did a parody of their parody of Star Trek writing, but then CBS blocked Red Letter Media, so it's almost like they sort of. It's all like they plagiarized the joke, but then also purposely decided not to acknowledge their existence, which was kind of weird. But then later, like a few years later, what the lead actor of Lower Decks was actually on their show, and they were hanging out and chatting. And I'm like, what on earth is going on? It's like I missed like 5 different dramas all at once.
I don't think there's a drama. I think it's just like a popular consensus and responding to that popular consensus. The thing with Red Letter Media that I respect is they don't take themselves all that seriously. And I think that's one of the reasons why they're able to like kind of succeed so well. Because, you know, they don't take themselves too seriously. They're pretty loose. They're pretty friendly with other people, even if they disagree.
So what was the blocking all about then?
What?
Was
the what? The
because
blocking?
CBS like blocked them like during that time that they like did the joke, which kind of it kind of got
yeah,
into
but CBS is it's usually a social media intern that does the blocking. It's not the the way it works is there's always multiple people involved. It's not always like, and the people who work on the different shows may not feel the same way as the company does. You know.
Yeah, I can see that.
You also learn that outside of the internet, things like this don't matter.
Yeah,
like,
it really doesn't matter at all.
Big businesses will just like hating. Like actors in big businesses will hate each other. Then a year later, they'll be in each other's movies and everything's fine. Like nothing matters. Like just relax.
Like with with like Robin Williams in Aladdin with the genie. You know, there was a big deal with that. You know, it went against his contract, and then like. A couple years later, he shows up as the genie again. You know, it's like, yeah, they had to work it out, and certain people left the company that he couldn't stand, but he still got over it eventually.
Most people don't think like Redditors. That's really
No,
important
yeah.
to understand.
Seriously.
Oh yeah, Reddit's a hellhole at the moment. For real.
Yeah. Anyway, this video by Arlo is apparently really bad, I've been told. I don't know who Arlo is.
I see Arlo, and I feel like Arlo has to be a really bad YouTuber because it's a puppet with very low view and subscriber counts so I feel like a puppet's like easy 1 million subscribers, but like it's not even close to that.
I mean, this video
so it's
has
like,
almost
wow,
a
this
million
must
views.
really suck.
This video also has almost 1 million views. That's pretty successful.
Well, this one, a lot of the ones that I see of this guy are like very small time, and I'm like, wow, people love puppets, but they don't like this. It's got to not be good.
Mm-hmm. I saw this video already once. It was pretty good. Also, I want to bring up one thing too that's going to be important right around here. So big reviews apparently are trusted. I want to come up to this little section right here. I'm sure nothing's going to come up with this section.
You know what? There's a Jack Saint had the same argument about Mahler.
Exactly.
How long videos? Yeah, it's.
But I think I want to play this clip right here. I think there's something here that's really interesting. 6 minutes and 30 seconds in. I think you want to hear this bit because it's important. I think as to why you shouldn't trust. I don't know Arlo, by the way. I don't know if Arlo's any good. I've never seen his work, so I'm sure he's really cool. Please, if you're a cool person, Arlo, don't. The opinions of the guests on the Anthony Gramiglia streams are not reflective of the host.
I tried to watch one of your videos, Arlo, and I was very bored, if I remember correctly.
Madeline, thank you for poisoning the well with every relationship on the internet.
You're welcome.
Anyway, let's get to this real quick.
I'm sorry, I meant to say the laziest! Internalizing opinions through both of these means just makes it easy for misinformation to get spread.
I'm sure
long video about why mine.
I'm sure nothing to follow of any relevancy to anything we've ever discussed in this channel coming up.
Minecraft isn't as good as Terraria, and my opinion is now yours. You don't have to put in any of the brain power that is required to make an opinion, just listen to me, I know what I'm talking about. Okay, I could just sit here and lambast my older videos all day, but there is a significantly stronger and more prevalent example of this exact thing.
I can't think of anything like this.
The most infamous example of a video that spreads misinformation, you probably saw this coming if you're in the video essay space, Lily Orchard's Steven Universe video.
Here we go.
Be said that hasn't already been said? This video masquerades itself as an in-depth review of Steven Universe, when in reality, it's 2 hours of propaganda trying to make you hate a person who did nothing wrong. I didn't actually watch the video for this one. It spreads lies, misinformation. When it's trying to do actual analysis, it gets it wrong. If this was uploaded today, it would get immediately lambasted as the borderline hit piece that it is. But this wasn't posted today, and for way too long cemented how people viewed Steven Universe, despite the fact most of it was incorrect. But that fact doesn't matter, does it? It was 2 hours long, so people took it as gospel. People who had seen the video had now been turned against the show they hadn't even seen. And because of how popular it got, public reception of Steven started to sway. Steven Universe began to be seen as nothing but cringe and poorly written when it's neither of those things. Probably, you should go out and form your own opinion. That's what I'm getting at, though. People watched what was blatant misinformation, started spreading that opinion, and then people who hadn't even seen the video started dunking on the show based off of the misinformation from a video they didn't watch. I would know. I was one of those people. This video serves to show what is just about the worst case scenario for a video of its kind. This right here is why it's important to form your own opinions instead of just listening to what other people have to say. Because other people's opinions are just that. Other people's opinions.
Also, I'd like to point out that Lily Orchard has since lost more subscribers than in this clip. Anyway, I digress. But yeah, no, it's...
You know what? Everyone just picking on trans people. You know, like, just because a trans woman says that a real life person is a fascist and not really queer, that all of a sudden means we gotta hate her. Whatever.
I'm glad for the defense of Lily Orchard there, Madeline. I mean, you've criticized everyone else, but she's okay.
I can't just make false claims about somebody. That's so transphobic that I can't do that.
I actually adore Steven Universe. I think it's a really engaging show.
It's my favorite cartoons of all time.
My only complaint, although technically maybe I might be missing the subtext, there weren't any like male coded gems properly per se. I mean they kind of like they all kind of aired towards like what's hard. Like dude, I could like picture so many cool designs and like obviously
They're
they kind
supposed to be girls. Like that's the fundamental
the
premise of the
whole
show.
femme
Like from
presenting,
episode
yeah.
1, yeah.
yeah. I always had like a
But it's a
headcanon
parody of
that
like
there
magical
was,
girl stuff.
yeah.
I
had
wouldn't say
like a
parody, more
headcanon.
pastiche, I'd say, than parody.
That's probably more right.
Yeah.
I've always had like a headcanon that like all the like geodes and crystals were like females, but there was probably like a species of like types of like metals and compounds that were like male, and they were like either exiled or had their own faction that just didn't show up. That would have been like totally metal as fuck.
That make for good.
I think
That would
they're
be that
supposed
would
to
be
be-
metal. That would be very metal if all the metals were like that. I like
I
that.
think they're supposed
I
to
couldn't
be
resist that one.
genderless in canon. Correct
Well,
me if I'm
they're
wrong. I don't think they have a
gems.
gender.
They're gems.
They're gems. They don't have gender.
Yeah, gender's not even a concept to them, really. It's more just
Yeah.
a manifestation of how they view themselves more than anything else, and that's why they change too over time. Again, the thing is, like, a lot of these really clever ideas, there's a lot of depth to Steven Universe that you can interpret through, like, how you watch it, how you interpret it. And if, let's say, you just watched a certain video essay that was terrible about Steven Universe, your opinion would be poisoned. And that video has millions of views, which is wild. Also, she plagiarized a lot of her essay. I'm not sure if you knew that, but she allegedly plagiarized a lot of her essay, I should specify. Yeah, but still, there's a lot there in terms of media literacy because people take their opinion from YouTubers and video essayists and then don't engage with the media they're supposed to be watching. They get their opinion from someone else who did watch it, and you're trusting that that video essayist understood the process, understood the media, and then just went with it. And the problem is that people won't fact check. And if they do fact check, they're not going to be fact checking deeply enough. And that's the problem.
I have a thought on that. I don't know if this is like controversial or not, but like all of that is like the point. Like that's why I'm watching the YouTuber, because I don't have the time or the interest or sometimes even the know-how to learn anything this person is saying otherwise. You know, you do kind of have to take a leap of faith when you watch a creator like this that they're going to say something probably okay. I think it's kind of honestly elitist to say like do your own research. Like I have a job. That's why this is my time to relax. Now you're telling me to go die and do my own research. Like I think it's a balance is what I'm trying to say.
True.
You know?
I don't know if I agree with that one. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I think that I think it's
I
important to
really
form
do
your own
think,
opinion.
Like, if I watch a video about something that I have no intention to ever watch, I'm just watching something kind of fun, and it's by
depends if
somebody
I'm
who
real
in the
estate.
past that I know is somebody that I like and has opinions that I like. It's like why you read a Roger Ebert review. If you like Roger Ebert's other reviews, then you read a Roger Ebert review and you do what you can with that information. Maybe you watch the movie that he's talking about and you like or dislike it or disagree or agree. But you know, this is why we exist. Like people want to know like what we think about stuff.
Yeah, but like, okay, here's where I disagree with you in this one. With Roger Ebert, usually doesn't tell you the ideas and themes of the story and tell you that what to think about the creator. Sometimes, like if all you're doing is looking for a
Okay, I see what you're saying. No,
Can
don't
I-
say shit about. Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Yeah, and also, like, if you're watching it for a review purpose, say, oh, will this be something I want to watch in its entirety? Yeah, that's one thing, certainly, but a review is different from a video analysis, or a substitute for the media itself. Big thing right there with CinemaSins, why I don't like them all that much, is that they basically just tell you everything that happens in the movie. If you're unfamiliar with the film, it basically replaces and supplants the idea of watching the video. One thing I pushed back against a while back was this video by Wendigoon about Dante's Inferno. I felt the video was just a very poor replacement for the text because it was intended as a replacement for the text. And I pointed out, there's some things that Wendigoon got right, but there's some things he missed. And I think the problem is that if you watch a video essay, you get a very limited lens of what that piece of media is or isn't. And if you really want to get a sense of what is happening in that media, you gotta experience the media itself. I wouldn't say it's elitism to say, hey, maybe watch the movie yourself before you comment. that's not elitism. That's just kind of saying, hey, form your own opinion and let's engage in the marketplace of ideas, you know?
I agree with that.
Yeah,
I agree with
yeah.
everything
True.
that you're saying. I guess what I was saying is that, like, if I'm watching a video about a topic I know nothing about, and they're saying that topic to me, like, I hope to the best of my knowledge that what I'm watching is in some way true or coherent or like related to what's happening. Obviously, we take that chance every time we watch a video. Not even just talking about media. Like if I'm watching a video about trains or something, you know, like I'm hoping that's something to do with trains. If it's got a high review, people seem to like it. We have to make our best judgment calls all the time. What I like to do, and this is how I tend to watch YouTube video essays that have to do with media, is I look at the quality of the takes themselves, even if I don't know what they're talking about, because usually you can see bad arguments through how they're expressed and said in a video. Sometimes I'll watch something and be like, I've never seen this video, but what you're saying doesn't make sense to me. And you're saying it in a very strange way. So I feel confident in thinking maybe this isn't completely true. There's something weird about what you're saying. And that's critical thinking. That's something that people should just need to learn and figure out.
Agreed. Also, they're going to bring up a world famous YouTuber right now, so I'm going to skip ahead to get to this part.
For yourself.
Video- they should have asked me before
What's up?
putting me in the video.
I just wanted to say it is basically 2 a.m. in the morning in my country.
Oh my
definitely
goodness.
need to get
Yeah.
some sleep.
Yeah, Sekiros, thank you so
Aw.
much for joining us on this. I really appreciate you coming out.
Thank
for
you. It
this.
was nice meeting you.
Same here. Maybe we should like chat sometime and like discuss film and narrative and all that jazz. I myself also
Yeah,
have a
honestly, yes, I would love that.
diploma of higher education in digital film production. I also studied film studies in college.
Well, I'm a professional video editor. That's what I do for a living. So yeah.
I'll save
Alright,
let's save the resume exchanging for later, but thank you so much, Sekiros, really. Where can people find your work if
Madeline 2026?
where can people
Yeah,
find
like-
your work if they want to see more from you?
If you want to see more from me, I recommend going onto the YouTube channel known as The Obsidian Archives. I'm going to paste a link for you, Anthony.
I'll post it right here. Oh, I'm already ahead of you.
Ooh, there you are.
I do a lot. I basically run an indie animated series with like a horizontal production structure. We usually get like an animator to like have a chance to like shine, to like make a either animated short or like a full episode. It is the Arthurian legend of Milan Pendragon, the son of Mordred, who has to work alongside a demon imp known as Ziria, who is the 666th daughter of the demon lord Asmodeus, the demon lord of lust.
And I've seen, and if you watch
it
these,
sounds
you might
interesting.
find some friends of the channel show up in voice roles. But again, Sekiros, thank you so much for joining us on this adventure. And anyone wants
course.
to hop in there, you can see what he's got there. So yeah, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
Many thank yous, and you have a good one, all right? Have a great night.
You
Cheers.
too. Have a good night. Take care.
You too. Bye. SB.
But we're still here for now, as we enter into the world of.
Oh no, we're still here.
I know. As we enter into the world of world famous YouTuber and friend of the channel.
Essays here still have merit though. The YouTuber Skitty Bitty made a video about why they hated Tears of the Kingdom. At this point I had already played and beaten the game but still wanted to hear their perspective. And after I was done watching, I still liked Tears of the Kingdom. I understood a lot of their points and mostly agreed with them, but I still really liked it, and I wouldn't have gotten that perspective if I hadn't listened to its detractors and experienced it for myself, which is really what I'm trying to get at through this video. Critiques, video essays, and other people's reviews should refine an opinion, not define one. While I was writing this video, I was really self-conscious if it was pure dog ass or not, so I showed the script to two of my friends to ask their thoughts on it, and one of them actually gave a really good take on the whole thing.
God damn it, all they gave me was this fucking stool.
Hello, very good taker. I'm here to refine your opinions on this matter. What matter? This matter. Matter of fact, the matter doesn't really matter. What matters is that my Butso Pascacho talking about internalizing opinions here is wrong.
Okay, I'm sorry. Can any of you understand a goddamn word he's saying? No, not even slightly. Okay,
Okay, so you get the idea. No,
I
not
am-
Road to El Dorado. We're not playing
From this
Road to
image,
El
you
Dorado in
may
this
be
video.
eligible for
But
financial company.
go away. But yeah, that's the
I-
gist of it.
I agree. I agree with what he's saying. I'm just so fascinated by that style of video.
Mm-hmm.
Of the just everything there is. Yeah, it's really interesting. I hate it so much, but I do also find it kind of fascinating. That format of video. But yeah, I mean, I agree with what he's saying. I think it should be a conversation. That's the
Psychological
point
horror.
of.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I agree. No, sorry. I was getting the next video loaded up here. There's one other video I want to talk about too after this that I think is indicative of the discussion about media in general, and that's the elitist kind of takedown of people who.
Ooh.
Yeah. So there's one video I have, which This is partially I'm a little bitter at this creator. I think they were very rude to me a few times, so I'm not as nice about this as otherwise. But there's some creators who look down on others for not being media literate enough.
This is again why I don't like the term media literacy. I think there's something ableist about the term.
There is
It's-
something very ableist about it, I
yeah.
think.
Because like you're not, because the way you're using it is to say you didn't read it right, or you didn't. It's very much like you're an idiot, you're stupid, you can't read. Yeah, I think it's messed up to say that, which is why I think critical thinking is better. Like, for me, it's not even like a pedantic argument. I just think media literacy, by its own definition, is an extremely harmful and again extremely ableist way of describing a person. We're only using it as an insult to people. We never use it positively.
Agreed. All right, a couple super chats I want to read real fast, but I agree with you on that one, and we're going to go into more detail about that in a second. But for right now, let me read a few super chats. Adrian Parchment has a couple right here. Anthony Catching Strays Gramulia. Yeah, basically. All the people I'm trying to talk to caught strays, apparently. Probably a bad time to mention it. So, Jesse Gender, if you are watching this, please do not confuse the opinions of guests for the opinions of... I'm kidding.
Can I tell a quick story?
Go for it.
About my... So I...
Is it going to involve criticizing another major YouTuber?
It's actually a positive story about a major creative YouTuber.
Okay. I trust you in this.
So I recently decided to watch some of the movies that are on Nebula, by some of our peers and creators, including Dracula's Ex-Girlfriend, which I didn't particularly like. That's another story. And Identities, which is the one that Jesse Gender made. And I thought there were some problems with the thing, and I posted it on Blue Sky. And like a month or so later, I guess Jesse Gender saw it and made a comment on it saying like, hey, like we were trying some stuff. We actually want it to be this and this. And I said, that's interesting. I don't think you did it right. That we actually had like a real conversation, and like I was being open about what I thought about her work, and she was very like cool and like understanding that I was coming from like a good faith criticism place, which like that's so rare to see in a creator. And it really made me respect her a lot. I really like her for that.
From my limited interactions with Jesse Gender, I think that she's extremely receptive to criticism and extremely engaged in good faith discussion. I think I have a lot of respect for Jesse Gender, like a ton. For many reasons, that's one of them.
I make jokes, about like all this stuff, but like I do feel bad. And I do get, sad when like I want to be real with somebody and I'm considered like hateful or a hater or just like contrarian, when no, I am just giving like my real opinions on things. And I feel like the discourse is so toxic that if you disagree with somebody, usually someone is just being mean to you. Like that's the 90% of the time probably true. But I just like talking about this stuff. I like arguing with people, not because I hate people, but because I find this stuff really interesting and I want to talk more about it. Nothing I say has anything to do with what I think of a person as a person. I think people are not their videos on YouTube. People aren't their opinions on cartoons.
No,
You
yeah,
know, I
and
think,
I think
people are more than that, which is why I feel sad when people are like, "Oh, how dare you hate me?" And I was like, "I just said I didn't like this thing. You're probably very nice. I'm not even talking about you."
Oh yeah, no, 100%.
You know?
And I get that. And I think it's interesting too because we look at it from a perspective of like, and again, the issue also is online people are so hyperbolic. I think 80% of online fights would not happen if they were conducted in person at like a pub or something. I think people would have a different perspective
Absolutely.
there. I also think that people are very we anchor ourselves down into categories, defining ourselves by who we like, who we watch, what we consume, what we don't.
Yes.
And we're more than the sum of those parts, I think is important to note. This is going to get very funny in a second when I bring up someone who has a very compartmentalized opinion of me, but I digress. But yeah, no, I think an intelligent creator is willing to embrace criticism. I mentioned this in my last video that a lot of the best creators on the platform who survived for so long, which includes Jesse Genders, which includes the H Bomber guys and the Patrick Willems and all them, they are able to take feedback and grow from it. Even feedback that's not positive all that much, it is negative. They can still see the inklings of usefulness in mean criticism and grow.
No,
from it.
absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
we do the same thing when we read our comments, which maybe we shouldn't read our own comments.
I read
But,
every
like,
comment. Every comment anyone's ever
I
left,
do
I've read.
too. Even the mean ones, even the transphobic ones, I read those
Mm-hmm.
on my videos. But like sometimes I do, like a lot of times I read stuff that's like, you're just angry at me, you're just being hateful, this isn't useful. And sometimes I'll read something that's like, oh, that's actually a really good point. You
Mhm.
know, like I will remember that for next time.
A lot of the comments have really good points, I've noticed, and you know, I love it, and
not on my
oftentimes,
videos, at least. You have good comment section. My comment section's a mess, but
well, I mean, I also have a lot of trolls in my comment section too, but like, you know, you can tell the difference, and I try to engage. I try to approach every piece of criticism in good faith, but that's not always fair. I'm going to read the last couple super chats and we move on to this final video I want to talk about, because I do think it is very elitist and a good example of what we've been kind of dodging around this whole time. Agent Parchment, if you don't finish the video being the one we just watched, this guy mentioned Skitty Bitty's Zelda Tears of the Kingdom video, and CD Cal's big Steven Universe video. CD Cal, of course, being the changed public, not new name, but like name of her account of Lily Orchard. Do not let anyone confuse you for it. Lily Orchard is not a dead name. It is simply just public branding because she still calls herself Lily.
That's gotta be part of the point. Like you know what? I'm a trans person, so I can say this.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the point is the confusion, honestly.
Yeah. Well, she also wants to avoid being associated with the June the King
With
video.
herself.
Yeah, basically. She's done so much shit. She doesn't want to be associated with it.
With herself, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it really
get
is. Because she'll still slip up and call herself Lily, apparently, from what I understand. Okay, Angels Out in Gaming. So it's not a dead name. No, don't let anyone confuse you for that. That's not it at all. So that's anyway. We got here. So when we got this, Angels Out in Gaming. I admit I'm guilty of forming my own opinions on videos, even yours, Ant. I'm trying to get away from that, but old habits die hard, and that's fair. All you can do is try. You know, all you can do is just try to be better than yesterday. That's what life is in general, I think. Great bar, same bit of people just listening to a person doing an allegation and acceptance it without checking, or with anti-wokers saying an article but never checking if it's correct. Yeah, I saw an article being spread the other day about the Thunderbolts needing to get over $500 million in the box office, or else it was a failure. The movie cost $180 million to make. That's not really exactly the quite right amount of math. The math isn't mathing in that discussion. Other cases, there was the famous recent case of Black Griffin, Saber Spark, where a lot of allegations were thrown out, but not a whole lot of evidence behind it. And even stranger, people were speaking for victims without the victims accusing anyone, which is problematic, but I digress. A lot of people were editing victim statements to make it sound more sensationalist. You know,
Well, I don't engage in trauma. I
Yeah.
hate trauma videos. I hate traumas. My go-to, and you can use this in your everyday life too. If someone describes something as a drama, don't listen to it. It's probably not. I feel like if something really bad happened, you wouldn't call it drama. You would just say a really bad thing happened. Drama, I feel, lessens the impact of something really significant.
I think 80% of online drama wouldn't happen if people went to the right people for the job instead of going to YouTubers to deal with their problems.
They should go to me. I'll settle the drama.
If you have an allegation, go to Rain. They're actually equipped to help you. Your average YouTuber can't help you.
That's right. I talk to people that can help you. I talk to people, and it seems easy. Therapy seems easy. I could do it.
Yeah, I'm sure. Are you licensed to practice therapy, Madeline?
Oh no, that's I'm not elitist at all. No.
Oh, I see. Okay, just want to make sure. Okay, just want to make sure there about that. I'm just moving you around a little bit. So the wave.
My podcast is a social worker, though. Shout out to Jess on my Cutie Cat podcast project.
There you go. All right, Wave Runners talked about it on Discord, but I hate the term roguelite for games since it seems elitist and anti-innovation. Yeah, I agree with that entirely. I think roguelite is really elitist. And Mr. Soul, it's ridiculous, I think. It's a roguelike. It's a roguelike only. They're all roguelikes. It's just some are more intense than others in terms of the mechanics. Mr. Solar's Son, can you make a video about Star Wars theory? Already have. At least like 3 or 4 at this point. I've made a bunch about Star Wars theory. Oh my goodness.
Your last one was really good.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I really like the last one you released. Yeah.
Yeah, Mauler annoyed me so much. And there's some people who had the same cookie cutter response to the Mauler video, like saying, "Hey, it's too late to talk about Mauler." I'm like, "Is it? He's still making videos." He's still doing stuff.
They are weird. I made a very brief reaction video, stream to his video about the Fallout TV show, and I was surprised by people reacting to it. I'm like, I don't know who you are. How do you know me? I'm a small YouTuber. What is happening right now?
Well, that's the thing, too, about Mauler. He'll respond to, tiny YouTubers, but he'll never talk to, a big account. He only engages with people who are much, much smaller than him.
That's the thing. He didn't engage with me, but, his followers, his little minions.
Oh, yeah.
Or not even minions, just his fans.
Fan base. Yeah, his fans. They're very defensive of him. They said so much absurd stuff about me on the subreddit there. It was actually really funny reading through it all. Because they were just every time someone said something slightly positive about me, they were like, "Oh my god, we found ants. We found his Reddit account." Meanwhile, my Reddit account is literally my name. It's just my name. It's not hidden. I'm not subtle. I'm not slick.
I wonder if someone's talking about me on Reddit. I don't have a Reddit account.
Oh yeah, don't engage in what's called digital self-harm. It's not fun by looking up your own name. Anyway, speaking of digital self-harm, let's talk about Limus the Slime in his video about mouthwashing, which is why I asked before if you've ever played mouthwashing. You don't have to know what mouthwashing to see the problems here. I'll explain them.
I'm familiar with I know what game is on the screen right now. That's one of my favorite games.
It's Silent Hill 2. It's amazing. I love Silent Hill 2.
Yeah. Top 3 game of all time. Yeah.
Agreed. Okay, so bit of a discussion about Limus the Slime. A little bit of the confession of professional bias here. The previous 2 videos we discussed, I like the creators enough. I think they're really cool creators. Underrated. I think you should subscribe to them. I do not think that you should subscribe to Limus. And just so you know, Limus uses she, they pronouns, just so we don't make any mistake there. She is a very aggressive person. She's been very rude to me personally. I think unfairly so. So I don't really feel too bad about criticizing their video right here. I don't know.
We should be nice to each other.
I'll be nice. I tried to be nice to her. I was trying to be very friendly to her, and she was just extremely aggressive and rude to me. So I don't have much sympathy for her and her video.
I've never heard of this person, so I'm excited to see the video.
Yeah, they're interesting. I'll say that. And the reason I'm using this as an example is I think that her video is a great example of elitism towards fans, towards people who are just kind of simple. Because the thing is, she argues that people aren't engaging with mouth washing the correct way, that they're doing it in a wrong way. And a lot of what she says is kind of like, it comes across to me as very rude, in general. Anyway, so let's take a look at her video. Sorry?
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. Let me take a look. There's a few super chats before we get started, because I know there's a few we just got just now. Nick Wolf and Sai comes in with the chair. So Sai did respond to this video apparently already. I saw a bit of that stream, but not all of it, so I don't know everything she says. But what I did see, I had some issues with Limus's perspective. Ghostman GM. By the way, Limus goes by she, they. Did I slip up and say anything else? I thought I said she, they.
No, you
from the
said
start.
she, they.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I wasn't sure if I misspoke then. I was very nice to her. And she was extremely rude to me in return. So I'm not too upset. Anyway, let's watch this.
Psychological horror is a genre that is at its best when it makes you question everything you originally thought was true, when it puts your morals on a pedestal and calls them into question, testing you in a way that no other form of fiction can. This is why the genre can only truly work when the people writing it know what they are doing. You know, people that know a thing or two about human psychology. When it comes to psychological horror, I think it shines the most through the media of video games. I can go on for hours about some of the best examples of the genre, but so many other YouTubers before me have made dozens of videos about this exact same thing. So instead, rather than talking about a game and analyzing it until the end of time, I instead want to talk about a certain game and the response that it got from fans. Alright, enough with the big fancy words. I can't keep alluding to what I'm about to talk about because I know that you know what this video is about. We can keep talking about psychological horror and the way people interpret it, but we are going to talk about a game where the message was completely lost with its fan base, and it needs to be spelt out because people clearly didn't get it. Today, we're talking about mouth washing.
Now, see, that's the problem right there. I think it's very condescending to say the audience that likes this media didn't get it. I don't know. It just rubs me the wrong way. Like, yeah, a lot of people...
I completely agree.
Yeah, like a lot of times fans don't totally get the message of a piece of media. That's fine. But, like, it's the way you discuss it. And I think that puts people off. One thing I've noticed this whole time about, like, the Curtains of Blue discussion that we've had is that we're talking about about the discussion shutting down intellectual analysis. But we also have to look at the other side of things, too. And I think Sekiros was mentioned this before. We also have to acknowledge sometimes people just get uncomfortable with how the discussion goes. Because it does feel as condescending. It does come across as elitist sometimes. And
Yeah. I agree with all that. Like, for me, immediately, I didn't like this person. Not just because you primed me not to like the person.
I feel like I poisoned the well a little too much.
I'll do my own
research,
as they say.
Yeah.
I'll do my own research. But the way she was talking about media, like psychological horror is the best when it's this, is like, it's a lot of very definitive statements, which immediately creates a red flag for me when I'm listening to somebody.
Yeah.
Because I just don't think art is about definitive statements. So generally when I hear people talking about that, it's like, you can't prove it is the best or it is that thing. Like, it's not always a sign that it's like a bad video or a bad video creator, but it is like something that sticks in my head as I'm watching like the rest of the video. Like, okay, this is already kind of in iffy territory. And then by the time she gets to the, they watched it wrong. Anytime somebody says you watched it wrong, I'm like, this is probably a bullshit video. Because generally, in my experience, people who say you got something wrong don't actually know anything about media analysis. And I would ask them to try to describe anything, and they probably could not do it. So.
No, yeah, that's a fact. And you're going to see that's going to come into the discussion. She's a little too absolutist with discussing things. She says this is the best way, this is the only way, and it does shut down discussion from a different perspective. Unlike before with anti-intellectualism, where we're saying that anti-intellectualism shuts down discussion by stopping it before it can begin. This also does the same thing by saying, here's the answer, this is the only answer, this is what it is and what it must be. And if you say otherwise,
that's
you're
why
wrong.
it's not a. That's why it's not an they're trying to make it into an either or, like, Hatfield versus McCoy's
Exactly.
on analysis, when it's not. Like, both sides can be wrong. The thing that's really wrong is the false dichotomy that's being presented to us, that it has to be this, or don't do that. Like, that's wrong. Just, if you're thinking about stuff in those terms, that is just bad. That's just tribalism.
Agreed.
Anything.
Now, I want to point out one thing in the comments right now. I'm noticing. Please do not insult Limus's appearance or speculate about that. Her wearing the mask is just part of the conceit of her personality online.
She put a lot of effort into it. I respect.
Put a lot of effort into she put a lot of effort into her aesthetic and her avatar. So I don't want to make fun of that at all. That's not what we're about. I will criticize her ideas.
To make fun. It really is transphobic to make fun of somebody's appearance, especially even if you don't like who they are or their take. That makes it even worse, honestly.
Yeah.
Don't do that. That's really don't bother her.
Don't
harass her.
Leave her alone. Don't go out of your way. She will just be rude to you anyway. I tried being nice to her and she was extremely rude to me, so she'll just be rude
unless
to you.
she's like directly rude to you, like she was to Ant. Don't harass her. I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess Ant. Don't harass her either, Ant. I don't know.
I can't. Anymore. I can't. I can't now. No, but it's she got no, she got very nippy. We'll say that. Okay, a couple quick super chats I want to read out real quick before we move on, because I think they're relevant to this point in time. Mason, mouthwashing helped me see I was essayed. This is going to hurt. I'm so sorry you had to experience that. I'm glad the art helped you see that, but I'm also sorry that you went through that at all. And Blue Bow 501, my new video essay lead-in. You watched it, right? I'm just a lunatic with too much time on our hands. Feel free to engage or refrain. I love that intro, actually. It's pretty great. I should do that myself at some point. Okay, let's go with right here.
We got trouble.
Before the video begins, let's talk about today's sponsor, Aura. Has this
Alright,
ever
that's
happened to
fine.
you?
Aura's...
You put your private protect your internet connection with military-grade...
Alright, let's get past the sponsor.
Mouthwashing is an indie horror game that was released in September 2024. The game has you following the perspective of two characters, Jimmy and Curly, through multiple separate intervals of time. The Tulpar crew, which consists of Swansea, Daisuke, Anya, Jimmy, and Curly, are tasked with hauling shipments of mouthwash up until the captain crashes the ship into a meteor. This causes the freighter ship to be...
A little bit of media analysis here. They didn't really know they were hauling mouthwash until after they crashed. They didn't really crash. It was more like they were sabotaged by their own crew. But one particular pilot. But I digress.
Be in an emergency
so
state.
It's like a surprise that's like, it's supposed to be a surprising moment, like while you're playing it. It's mouthwash. Well,
the idea of it is they know they're lugging these packages. They're basically space truckers essentially, and they're hauling a package. Right. And then when they crash and survive, they're like, okay, what are we bringing with us? There's got to be something to help us survive. And they open up and it's just mouthwash. So their entire life was basically being ruined. By the way, this will spoil most of mouthwash at some point in this discussion.
Oh no, actually, okay, well that's fine.
Yeah,
I accept I'll be spoiled. I haven't played it, but I'll just accept that.
That's fair. So basically, they don't know that what they're bringing with them is such a useless item like mouthwash. It's kind of like the cruel irony of the situation that, like, we are going to die over transporting mouthwash. Oh, and they're going to get fired when they got back from their job. They're going to be let go, and so it's like a real pile up of tragedies.
No, it's irony. It's beautiful. Yeah. It sounds really interesting.
Oh, it's great. It's just one cruel irony after the next.
The Tulpar crew are then left having to survive off dwindling food supplies. Once they go low, they resort to drinking mouthwash, which only increases the tension between the crew as they get sick from it.
One of them drinks mouthwash because he's a recovering alcoholic and there's ethanol in mouthwash. But anyway.
Yeah.
Well, they try to keep their Captain Curly alive with a limited amount of medical supplies. It's revealed in its flashbacks that the crew would be laid off following their delivery of the shipments. When tensions are at their highest, Jimmy lashes out at his crewmates, which eventually culminates in him sexually assaulting Anya and impregnating her. It's then revealed that Jimmy is the one who crashed the ship in a murder-suicide attempt in order to avoid taking accountability for his actions. The game then starts to delve into what I like to call all post-episode 20 Evangelion writing, and we start to see Jimmy lose control and have delusions as his crewmates die as a result of his actions. Throughout the game, Jimmy constantly tries to gaslight himself into believing that he is the hero and that what he is doing is quote-unquote fixing things. When the insanity is said and done, Jimmy places Curly in a cryo chamber before shooting himself, thus ending the game. That's basically an abridged retelling of the game's story. I left out a lot of other details for later points in the video because I'm not here to do a long analysis of the game's story, but more so a discussion on how the overall message of the game got lost in translation.
Okay, so a few things here. I'm not going to go over the bit-by-bit details she didn't really quite get right. There are a few details here and there she left out. Okay, whatever. Summation of it, it's a halfway okay summation, but there's some details that she erred on.
It sounds like with a project like this, it's hard because it sounds like there's so much that's like you said, metaphorical, or it has, you know, it's not something that like going from A to B is going to tell you the entire thing.
It's less that it's metaphorical and more that it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's more that it's just a psychological journey the characters go under. You know, that's what it comes down to. But
right.
the point is. Oh, sorry.
I guess you're saying it's like the experience, like it's the journey. That's kind of like, right? Am I understanding? Or?
Yeah. Sai's pointing out in comments that Limus got the major thing wrong, that that Jimmy assaulted Anya before they were going to be laid off. It was because she's pregnant by the time.
I was wondering, like, what is the time frame of this? Yeah.
It's also told out of order, the whole game. It's told non-chronologically. You find out that Jimmy crashed the ship way further in the game. Like, it starts with a crash, and then it kind of near the end you find out the extent of what Jimmy has done. So a lot of stuff is hidden. Like she realizes she's pregnant before the crash. So months passed between them learning they were being let go and them being assaulted. So there's a lot of timeline fudging here. I'm willing to. The problem is, it's a very poorly thought out summary. The big issue is how Limus talks about media literacy and media interpretation in this discussion, though. That's where I draw an issue with how she does it.
So, what is the message of the game? Mouthwashing has a lot of different themes, but the main theme that it has is in relation to toxic masculinity and culture.
No, that is not what it. Okay, let's keep going.
Know that the words toxic masculinity is enough to make people click off of a video because they don't want to have a serious discussion about it, but when we are talking about the overall story of mouthwashing, you can't talk about it without discussing the roles that Curly and Jimmy play in the game. We'll start with our silly red man Curly. Curly is the original captain of the Tulpar freighter ship, but because of his crash, he was put in a critical condition with his skin being burnt off and his flesh and muscles being exposed, along with missing limbs. He basically just becomes Jeff the Killer.
She is such a bad.
Before the crash.
Well, more like Ava Unit 1 with the armor taken off. You know, like here. Let me show you exactly what I'm talking about here. It's Ava Unit 1.
A persona of being someone that burnt off in his flesh and muscles.
Okay, look at that right there. Let me get Ava Unit 1 with the. 1 second. So it's basically Ava Unit 1. The damaged Ava Unit 1. Let me just show you right now. This is the exact same image. See? It's the exact same. No one can tell me otherwise that this didn't inspire this. Like, they're so similar. Like,
I mean, it is also. I mean, that's probably true. I think it's also a common enough trope in media. This like bandaged figure.
That's fair.
Like it's more than just these two things that I've seen. Like this specific look.
Yeah, I mean, the Mummy also has that too. Invisible Man.
Or even just like any kind of like traumatic like injury, or even just like monsters. I mean, I feel like I've seen this guy in Silent Hill too.
This is true.
Also,
this is true.
Yeah.
But the point is, so far, I'm gonna wait till she says her bit about Curly and Jimmy in terms of like how toxic masculinity plays into this. But I fundamentally disagree. Oh, Sai, thank you for Super Chat. The Ava comment is what made you want to react to this, isn't it? Yes. Yes, it is. That's entirely what it is. You say Evangelion, I come running.
I know that she said, "Oh, it became like the last couple episodes of
yep,
How do you say it?
Evangelion, yeah.
Evangelion.
Yep, Evangelion. Yep.
Evangelion. Yeah, the last couple of episodes where everything goes weird because he had no budget. I love it. That's some of my favorite
it's amazing.
thing I've ever seen. I don't care. And that's another separating art from the artist. I don't care why that happened or why we got that.
It's
I
just
love it.
effective.
And I think it's so thematically perfect with everything else that's happened.
Oh, 100%. And I still think the scenes with Asuka in episode 22 or whatever it is, I think that's some of the most disturbing stuff I've ever seen in any anime. Like, I think it's very upsetting.
Oh my God.
Anyway,
really hard to watch.
Anyway, back to this. Let's get back to this. So keep in mind, her interpretation is that it's toxic masculinity. We'll get to that.
Being exposed, along with missing limbs. He basically just becomes Jeff the Killer. Before the crash, he was putting on a persona of being someone that you can depend on. He is shown to be close friends with Jimmy, and we see them interact in most of the flashbacks. Curly reflects a lot about his role as captain and talks about if that's all he will ever be known for. He wants to take responsibility for the well-being of his crew, or so he says. But it's revealed in the game when Anya tells Curly that she was sexually assaulted by Jimmy that he does nothing to help her, nor does he reprimand Jimmy or even comfort Anya. Instead, he ignores his friend's constant violent outbursts and refuses to take serious measures to resolve the issue. Curly ignores Anya's cries for help and instead puts focus on Jimmy. Curly is a very flawed character, and the pressure he has over keeping the crew safe leads to him making incorrect decisions. Jimmy, on the other hand, is the protagonist of the game who ends up becoming the antagonist. He is shown to have a short temper and constantly puts his colleagues in danger. He assumes the role as captain after Curly is left in a vegetative state, during which he would berate and blame other crew members for his mishaps. In various flashbacks, he is shown to be envious of Curly's position as captain, and once he takes his place, he acts on impulse and fails to take responsibility for the well-being of his crewmates. He does things like drug Swansea using a spiked cocktail or manipulate Daisuke into crawling into a dangerous vent and getting critically injured. But by far his worst offense is what he does to Anya. Jimmy did not view Anya as a human, and she is the only person that doesn't show up in Jimmy's dream sequences, implying that he feels no guilt for her. When she tells Curly what happened, she admits to hiding the only gun on board, out of fear of Jimmy getting access to it. Curly shows more concern over Jimmy than Anya, and it's what inevitably leads to him crashing the ship due to his inability to recognize the warning signs. The hallucinations that Jimmy gets in the end of the game represent his guilt and emotions regarding the crew and his actions towards them. However, he never truly takes responsibility for what he did. Instead, he tries to convince himself that he is fixing a problem that he won't admit he created. Jimmy is a vindictive monster, but to have that be your only takeaway from this game would be doing mouthwashing a massive disservice, and unfortunately, a lot of people really don't understand what this game is actually about.
So I think let's stop here for a second because I feel like a big issue with her interpretation is twofold. One, and this is going into some specifics, but it's going to touch upon a bigger issue I have with a lot of certain people who engage in this discussion loosey-goosey. For one, Curly's issue is so Limus, first off, she has failed to really communicate how toxic masculinity is the problem here. She's indicated that Curly is ineffective and that Jimmy is aggressive and self-centered and self-serving. But that's not the same thing as saying that toxic masculinity is the cause of that. Curly's issue is that he's an ineffectual leader. He does nothing to stop harm from happening, and his karmic punishment is being put in a position where he can only observe and not interact with the rest of the world. He's not catatonic, he's just completely paralyzed and deeply injured. And that's the cruel irony. He did nothing when he was captain, and now that he's injured, he has to function as just an observer without any actual interaction with the rest of the world.
I haven't played this game, but I did kind of catch what you're talking about because she says the game is about toxic masculinity, but she doesn't say what it's saying about toxic masculinity, or what argument it's bringing to the table about toxic masculinity. Like, I tend to think that most arguments that are like, this game is about this game is about that, are kind of half-finished arguments, because I think, it's more, I think from there saying it's about toxic masculinity, but, what specifically is it saying about toxic masculinity? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it just something that happens? That's a more complete argument. You're just kind of just saying something.
Exactly.
Limus, whatever her name is.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the issue. She's kind of throwing out,
Yeah.
this is what it is, but she's not doing the legwork to have the connective tissue.
Why
to
should we
lead
care?
you to the-
That's the real question. Why should we care? It's about toxic. Why do I care?
Exactly.
That's what you have to do as a video essayist, and to make an argument, you have to be like, why do I care? Why should I care about what you're saying?
Exactly.
She's not doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the big issue. The problem is that Limus is kind of saying, hey, here's what the game is, but she's not really putting in the work to say, here's why this is what the game is. And that's dangerous because then she's going to attack a bunch of other people for their interpretations, which are
I'm not
equally
even sure
as
what she's
superficial.
attacking them. She's like, oh, people just think it's about toxic masculinity when they're wrong. It's like, well, that's what you just said it was.
Oh, yeah.
It was toxic masculinity.
It gets worse. It
Okay,
gets worse.
so I'm glad I'm at least understanding what I'm supposed to be understanding. Okay.
Yeah, because this is the other side of the discussion. As much as we can say, hey, saying that the curtains are just blue, it's anti-intellectual, it's dismissing conversation before it starts, we can't ignore the fact there are people who also just dismiss other arguments of interpretation because they want to say they're right. That's the big issue.
Yeah. After we watch a little more, I'll give an example of when I learned this lesson myself many years ago.
Exactly. Oh, and I'm going to read a couple super chats real quick. I think it's just Sai, but it's actually more than Sai. Zorku.
Hi, Sai.
Nah, clearly there's less than zero relation. You're just looking into it too deep. The curtains are just blue. Smiley face. Fair enough. I guess that's what happens when you come into the chat later on. Thanks, Zorku.
They're actually teal. They're lapis lazuli.
Actually, the curtains are. That shirt isn't blue. It's not. It's cerulean. Actually, if you've watched Double Prod, you get what that's reference to.
Which means that the curtains are in the Cerulean City Gym in Pokemon.
That's true. Misty has them. They're Misty's favorite curtains.
Misty has them, yeah.
The guy 493. My two big takeaways from mouthwashing. Curly is emblematic of what happens when good men do nothing. I agree with that. And Jimmy reminds me too much of a coworker. That's concerning, and unfortunately, I also agree with you that Jimmy reminds me of a coworker, at least one.
Probably a Jimmy in every office.
Oh,
yeah.
Every office has a Jimmy. Every town has an Elm Street. And Sai, thank you so much for the super chat. Even hearing spoilers, you should play Mouthwashing. It's so good, and it's only 2 hours long. I second that opinion.
It's on my list. I'll get to it. Yeah.
Easy game to get through, and it's very effective.
Oh, I can beat it. Yeah, I'm gonna win the crap out of Mouth.
Not a particularly hard game, but it's a very fun game. I think it's more of a walking sim than anything else. Anyway, back to this.
Love walking.
Let's get ready to
I'm a big
mansplain.
fan of walking simulators. I think they're
Same.
great.
Finish when you started. Don't worry. If anyone ever finds us, I'll still be playing the villain. You'll be the better man in the end. Like you wanted.
For starters, we need to make one thing perfectly clear. Curly is not on the same level of morality as other characters. He is purposely meant to be morally ambiguous. This was already made pretty obvious when he shrugs off the fact that his friend is in a danger to the crew. He has a flawed idea on how to manage his crew, and while it's not as bad as when Jimmy was captain, it's still a pretty low bar to pass. Curly overlooks conflicts in order to look at the big picture, but him doing this is what led to allowing Jimmy to pilot the ship into a meteor. I don't believe Curly is a bad person, but he isn't a good person either. He still chose to cover up Jimmy's abuse of Anya. Despite all of this, a lot of people consider Curly to be the hero of mouthwashing, and by saying this, it would mean having to ignore all the bad things that Curly had a hand in. Yes, Curly did not crash the ship, but had he done his job as captain, Jimmy would not have been left alone in the cockpit to begin with. He did nothing to help Anya when she needed it the most, and I believe he has a portion of responsibility when it comes to her death. Obviously not as much as Jimmy, but still some nonetheless. I can understand why people would view Curly as a hero, and it's mostly because they are comparing him to Jimmy. And yeah, if you compare anybody to Jimmy, then you can make them look like Jesus Christ.
You know
But
what this
mouthwashing
is?
a
Pause
ga-
it for a second.
Go for it. Let's pause Andy a bit.
This is the classic. This is they fell for the classic blunder of video essays. One of the great classic blunders in that you made a video essay that is a subtweet of something that only you know about or care about. Somebody said something to you, or you read an opinion that you said, and you are mad, and you're like, everyone thinks this. Trust me, bro. Like everyone's saying this, so you have to listen to me. like, this is not what it is. And I'm like, I don't, like, what are you talking about? Like, who is saying this? Why are they saying this? You're making so many assumptions and assuming I care about so many of the things. I know this because I make this mistake when I first start writing something, and I have to go back and be, oh, I think I'm just angry at somebody. I have to get rid of this section of my video. Like, that's just, like, yeah, that's a classic video essayist fail. Absolutely.
And the thing is, in general, like, I've done this too. Like, it's not a mistake that Limus exclusively has made. I made this mistake also where you will say,
I do it too.
Everyone does. Every video essay does it at least at some point. It is a common mistake. But I want to point out the other two video essays we discussed as a positive example. Both of them cited specific examples. They were like, okay, what's an example of an overly long video essay that misled its audience? Oh, hey, Lily Orchard. What's an example of a good long video essay that did not mislead its audience but engaged in conversation? Oh, hey, Skitty Bitty. It's like these examples were positive for the video. It helped give a specific example that formulated and structured the ideas behind a particular example. You always want to demonstrate your example. You can't just assume everyone knows what you're talking about. That's a structural issue right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also like who cares what people think about mouthwashing? Like, why should I care what somebody thinks? Like, why should I care as much as you apparently do care? Like, it sounds like a Twitter argument just put into video. Like, someone was really mad that they got owned or something and is making a video. Like, why, who cares about any of what you're talking about? Why does any of this matter?
Oh yeah, what bugs me too, a lot actually, about this is that it also kind of restricts the kind of conversations you can have about media. Like, yeah, Curly's a problematic character, but saying he's the hero of the story doesn't always mean he's the heroic character. He doesn't do anything particularly heroic. He just kind of is a protagonist. When people say someone is the hero, they usually mean the protagonist. They usually mean the central character. Curly is not really the central character. The irony of Curly is that he's an inactive character. He is he's actually really unchanging, really. Despite physically changing, he doesn't really change in terms of the role he plays in the story all that much. Like, he becomes a burden, but he wasn't really doing all that much beforehand. And again,
this is the video though. The video is she's trying to win an imaginary argument, and I bet she feels really great that she owned whoever the hell she was trying to own this entire time. I don't know why I have to be here and see it also as a viewer, but good for you.
Yeah, I'm gonna skip ahead to the next section because I feel like this section's kind of we've covered what matters in here.
Yeah.
You reached the highest rung of this ladder. So now you're thinking you might be on the wrong ladder altogether.
Oh, there's a topic I think you might like more: capitalism.
I love capitalism.
I know you're such a capitalist. I know you have your 15 places you're landlord over. You collect debts from the poor.
Oh, absolutely. I hate what Trump says, but I love what he does. That's what she said at night.
Oh God, man! How many people you've already pissed off? Jesse Gender. You've pissed off Movie Bob. You've pissed off. You pissed on the moon. Who else can we piss off in one stream?
You know what? Maybe Trump is right. Humor is dead. Elon Musk is bringing it back. You're allowed to make jokes again.
Okay, for sure. Why not? Let's sure. What limitations can we have? None. Okay, let's keep going.
Still a long way down from the top, no matter how you look at it. Well, I'm still climbing and climbing.
Another thing about this game that I think a lot of people missed was the role that capitalism plays in the overall story.
You cannot possibly miss this point. I was
gonna say, like, everything seems immediately about everything's about capitalism.
It's about space truckers who get screwed by the corporation. It's very capitalist focused.
No, it's actually
Part of
just
Curly
retelling
refusing
of
to
the
help
Deep
Anya has
Purple
to do with the
song.
work conditions put in place on the Pony Express. This is in no way an excuse for Curly to dismiss Anya and her cries for help. But the workplace regulations that Pony Express enforces only incentivizes the increase of the possibility of abuse. One of the work posters in the game states that you can't file complaints to HR about poor team synergy without receiving a dock in payment. Anya can't report Jamie's actions without it negatively affecting her, and it's already been stated in the game that she is struggling to get by financially. Posters of Paul in the game show a lot more of Pony Express's anti-worker ethics. This is why Curly tries to reassure Anya that her hiding the emergency gun from Jimmy doesn't have to go on the performance log. However, I think any normal person would agree that preventing a victim from getting abused again is more important than maintaining your position in the company, but clearly Curly thought otherwise. While we're on the topic of poor working conditions, it's no secret that working at Pony Express is a nightmare. If you look at more of the Paul posters and signs that are set up around the ship, we can learn more about the regulations in the workplace. For example, crew members are not allowed to sleep more than 5 hours. I mean, that sounds good. I mean, who needs sleep anyways when you're piloting a spaceship? We see that Curly gets all of corporate communication via fax machine, and it's not implied that the communication goes both ways, meaning it's very possible that it's a one-way transmission and there is no real way to call for help in case something happens. The actual ship can barely provide for 5 crew members, and the fact that the Tulpar crew doesn't even know what they are transporting is a pretty strong example of the workers being separated from the products of their labor. Pony Express cares so little about the characters that almost 9 months go by without any sort of rescue attempt from headquarters. To them, they are expendable, replaceable. A lot of Pony Express's business decisions ultimately lead to the dissonance in the Tulpar crew.
Yeah.
What do I mean by this?
Wait,
Well,
Yeah.
Oh, my alarm. Sorry, I was saying sorry because my alarm went off.
Oh, it's okay. We didn't hear it.
Oh, okay, never mind. Continue with what you're doing.
Well, I was gonna say, like, is she making a point?
Well, I mean, that was my question. Like, it sounds like she's just describing the game. You
Yeah,
know?
she's
Like,
describing
I
what
don't-
happened. Yeah, but this
Like, is she saying that people don't think this? That a lot of people don't think it's about capitalism?
yeah.
What is she arguing against? That's my, again, maybe we skipped it. I don't fucking know.
I don't think we
But, like, I
did,
don't
because this whole
understand-
section is about capitalism. She hasn't mentioned what people say. And again, the problem is that this whole video is structured to say you're having an issue with interpreting this game. You're doing it wrong.
Which is immediately why you can just dismiss the video no matter if what she's saying is right or wrong. Because if you're framing the conversation as combative like that, then it's not worth engaging with. It's not a
Exactly.
good faith argument. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think let's keep going with this section. I think she makes a point, but let's find out.
I'm not gonna say
Okay.
something stupid like capitalism is what caused Jimmy to do what he did to Anya. Some people are just evil, and there's no explaining that. The real issue
I
is
would
that
say
these
that.
business-
Yeah,
I game. I would probably say that.
I'd say capitalism is definitely a factor. You know, it's competition, it's the domination, it's because the whole thing with Jimmy is he feels kind of ineffectual and pathetic and small, and he uses the small power he has to just hurt people. Like he takes out
Absolutely.
others to kind of hide not hide the fact, but kind of to suppress the fact that he feels powerless in the whole scheme of things and small.
The tyranny of the tyranny of the petite bourgeois, as they say.
And it also doesn't help that that she's designed after Shelley Duvall in The Shining, but this has a lot of Shining
was gonna
influence
say,
too.
yeah,
She's
yeah.
very Shelley Duvall coded, which I love. I think that's really cool. R.I.P. Shelley Duvall. We loved you. But yeah, no, fantastic. But back to the point. I'm not sure what the point is yet.
Practices, along with Curly's inability to protect his colleagues, would only lead to the enabling of Jimmy's abuse and the inevitable crash of the ship. I think a lot of people tend to have trouble putting these pieces together because having discussions about capitalism in the workplace is not always something people want to discuss, just because it's a political topic. And people treat politics and writing like it's poison. Guys, politics is unfortunately a part of life. You can't avoid it. And politically inspired writing is present in just about every video game story. Fallout, GTA, Red Dead, BioShock, Watch Dogs, Half-Life, Cyberpunk, fucking Stardew Valley. The minute we can start accepting this as a fact, the minute we can have actual discussions about these stories, art is political at the end of the day. Alright, now I'm sure about 90% of the people watching have already clicked off the minute I uttered the word capitalism. I mean, if they haven't already clicked off me saying toxic masculinity. Oh yeah, toxic masculinity, about that.
So here's the problem right here.
Who is she talking to?
Yeah, who?
Like, what?
That's the thing I don't get about this video. Like, she's very antagonistic towards her audience, condescending to them the whole time. And the thing is, I've made entire videos about I opened up a video by saying all art is political because it reflects the period in which it is created. And I got some comments pushing back on that, but most people watch the rest of the video. The watch rate's pretty high on that video about you know, about what do you call it, conservative horror films, but in general, it just seems very manipulative here. Like she's yelling at people. And again, we said a lot of the same things in this stream, that all art is political, that there is a lot of discussion to be had, to engaging with the ideas behind media.
It is like what you were saying. This is like the elitist version of the other videos that we watch, because it's using the same techniques, and sure, it gets to an answer that we probably agree with, but if we show the work, it's a complete mess for everything that she's talking about. This reminds me of an experience that I had very, very, very early on. I was raised Catholic.
Same.
And I went through the whole process. I got confirmed and everything. And I figured out pretty soon this is probably all bullshit. Who cares? I am an atheist. Yeah, I'm an atheist, basically.
I always say I'm so Catholic, but go on.
There you go. Like, who cares? It's fine.
Yeah, I enjoyed this kind of discussion anyway. I think it's interesting. So it's all good.
Yeah, but that's not even the point. That's not even the point. The point is that, I was like, hey, this is probably incorrect. I'm gonna try and do something else, but I didn't really care if other people were Catholic or anything. And like around this time is when I discovered the atheist community, TM, on
the Redditors.
The Redditors and all the people that all these people. And I remember like watching some of these videos and being like, I hate all of them. Like, I guess I agree with what they're saying, but they reminded me of the shitty religious people. They were just doing it the other way. Like, to me, I was like, I'm seeing like basically like Westboro Baptist Church levels of like indignity being said by these people, but they're just saying it in a different direction. And I'm like, I really hate these people. I don't care if what they're saying is right or wrong. I hate all of them. And to me, it was no shock at all when all of them ended up joining Gamergate a couple of years later and becoming total swindlers.
Yeah, a lot of them became chuds. Or
a lot of them became chuds, or they always were chuds.
Or had strange relationships with bananas. One of the two. One of the three.
Exactly. And like that's what I realized was that like just because somebody has the same opinion as you, or the same political philosophy as you, doesn't automatically mean they're a good person, or even that they got there in the right way. I am a socialist. I used to be a member of DSA, Democratic Socialists of America. I still do stuff for them from time to time. But like, you would think that would be a progressive bastion, but it's not. I've met people that were very much like, I don't want to say pronouns. I don't want to do that. And it's like,
and also tankies can be a lot. The tanky community can be really historical.
We can factionalize all we want, but the point is that like it does matter how you get to the answer when it comes to analysis like this. Like it does matter if you got to this point. If you got to this point through horrendous reasons, through being a piece of shit, it does kind of matter, and it kind of matters as much as to
use a more recent example with me, the Mahler video. I didn't have a problem with some things Mahler was saying. I had a problem with how he was saying it. It's not always what they're saying; it's how they say it. How you say something is very, very important.
Mahler, I don't know if Mahler knows this, but you can have an argument and not use the R word 20 times in your video. It's very possible.
It's very easy.
Very easy to do.
But like the thing is, he's not even the worst offender in his own podcast with that one.
Oh, of course.
But it's like the thing is, it's like you can, depending on how you articulate something, depends on how you communicate the ideas. It changes if you say it a certain way, if you say it a different way, and that's vital because, Limas, what she's doing here is she's saying all these sorts of things, saying all these things in a certain way. And what she's actually doing is undercutting her own argument because she's failing to offer specific evidence for her claims. She's fighting a straw man that she's creating. And what she's ultimately doing is actually making herself seem less compelling as a result. Because it just sounds like she's arguing Twitter conversations. And,
Yeah, she's making like, look, folks, it's just art. Who cares? Like, it's not the end of the world if someone's like, I didn't get mouthwash or I thought it's something else. Like, that's not, people seem to think that being wrong about art is like equivalent to committing a genocide when it's not. I promise you it's not. Actually, my next video that I'm going to be releasing soon on my channel deals with some of these ideas. This idea that wanting media to be more than it's supposed to be, or like judging people based solely on an opinion they have about art, which is weird, and don't do that. Don't be like Limus here. That's weird.
Yeah, no. All right, there's one last section that she has here about assault that she calls the R word, which I think of as a very different R word, but let's see what she says.
I
Okay.
know you'd never give me the gun to protect myself. So the least I can do is make sure he never gets it either.
I talked about this a lot already, but I don't think enough people actually understand how much of a role Anya's abuse plays in the story. I've said already that Curly
It's 1/4 of the entire game, but okay.
is not the hero everyone wants to pretend he is, but we need to have an actual discussion about the culture behind the R word. Culture exists as a part of toxic masculinity, and the way it's reflected in mouthwashing is not too dissimilar from real-world cases. It exists in many ways, whether it be male victims not being taken seriously because they are men, or blaming the assault on the victim. In Mouthwashing's case, Anya felt that she could trust Curly with telling him what happened in hopes that he would be there for her. And he wasn't. Instead, he spent more of his time comforting Jimmy and saying things like, "You've gone through difficult situations before, this time won't be any different." Anya's case is common amongst other victims who feel like they can't tell anyone what happened to them out of fear of judgment or things like this happening. Jimmy has no remorse for what he did, and Curly still chose to do nothing to stop him, thus enabling his actions. Curly's inaction contributes to the deterioration of Anya's mental state. Victims like her will have trouble talking to anyone about what they went through because they can't trust people they originally thought were safe people to talk to. That's what makes it horrifying, the fact you can't even fully trust your friends. When Anya overdoses in the medical bay...
Okay, here's the problem I have with her interpretation so far. The way she's framing it is not, I'm arguing against another interpretation of the text. The way she's framing it is, this is the only way to interpret it. If you disagree, if you have any other view of how this story goes, you are wrong. And
Yeah, I mean, here's something I noticed too. This is actually directly also in my video essay that's coming up. But like, generally, I feel like if you're making an argument about a text and you're all of a sudden going off into something that really doesn't to do with the text, like, for instance, real world statistics about rape and all these other things, like, that's all sad and in interesting in a horrible way, but it's like, we're not talking about what's happening in the text. We're talking about something else. And I think the point of that is to further cement that my take is not only right, but it's morally right. Like, don't you know all of these things that are happening with regard to this thing that I think this piece is about?
yeah,
Like, it's, for me, I feel like it's a very manipulative tactic, because like, even if you agree or disagree with what this game is saying about the R word, like, it doesn't make you like a bad person or make you don't understand rape because you got this game wrong. It's a very specific way of framing an issue where you no longer are considering what's actually happening within the piece of art. The art is becoming a springboard in order to argue a moral point, which art is not equipped to do and should not be used for, because art is just a thing that you look at and watch
exactly.
and interpret.
100% agree with that. One other thing I'll add to that, and again, not taking away from what you said, because all that, I agree with it. It also comes across as condescending to the general audience, because what she's saying is, oh, hey, you didn't notice this, but here's what happens in the plot, which is like surface level stuff. So she's telling audiences who just experienced the game organically, hey, you might have been too dumb to pick up on this, but here's what you just saw. And anyone who played the game's like, yeah, I know. I played the game.
And yeah,
you know
absolutely.
what I mean?
That's what I thought too, watching it. And then she goes further. It's like, you may not have realized this, but rape, pretty bad.
Hey, listen,
Pretty bad. I don't know if you knew that. It's pretty bad.
Controversial opinions. Companies,
Controversial opinion.
they kind of suck. I know it's same
It kind of sucks being a woman. Did you know that? Did you know?
What?
Did you know that it sucks to be a woman?
Wait,
Did
really?
You know that?
Oh my God, Madeline, this changed my entire worldview. I couldn't even conceive of that possibility. Oh my God, I gotta tell everyone. I gotta tell the world. But they probably wouldn't understand it. It's too subtle for them.
It's so insulting to us. It makes us want to, like, I don't know, disagree on principle.
But like what she's saying isn't wrong. It's just the way she's saying it is here. And that's the thing too. It's I'm seeing some people in the comments giving it a scale of 10. No, but like in general, like it's one of those things where it's like what she's saying on principle, at the core of what she's saying. The game criticizes capitalism. The game criticizes the way men talk to each other. The game criticizes assault culture. Yeah, none of that's wrong, but it's the how she's saying it that makes it so irritating. Because what she's saying is ineffective because she's being condescending to her audience. She's mocking the people who play the game, saying you didn't play it right. You didn't understand it right, but I did. And I only know. And all that she's saying is surface level stuff.
She's acting like a piece of media has never touched on these topics ever. Like, just saying that a game does this is enough to qualify for a video.
Do you want?
I guess when, like, no, that's not an argument. You're just saying things that happen. An argument would be like, what is it saying about rape culture? What is it saying about toxic masculinity? Just saying it represents this or it is this. Yeah,
exactly.
That's not an argument. That's just you're just saying the game. I don't know what to
oh yeah, and there's one video here on my feed right here that I'm seeing that talks about mouthwashing that I know is a really good review of it, and that's the Dead Meat video. Dead Meat did a video on mouthwashing where they just played the game, and it was a fun video that had more intrinsic, deep analysis of the game and its making than Limus is doing.
Yeah,
and that's a mainstream channel. It's a big channel.
There you go. My next video is on the Matrix franchise and how people interpret the Matrix, and I am looking at a lot of these interpretations that I find kind of fascinating because even the ones that are good intention, like I'm sure Limus is being here, go to an unfortunately poor place. They present what they're trying to say in a way that undermines better arguments and more like just causes. And this is something I always find very interesting. I find how people interpret things to be just as interesting as the interpretations themselves.
Agreed. And it sucks to say because I don't want to ever make fun. I don't enjoy criticizing. I enjoy giving feedback to YouTubers. If a YouTuber hears what I'm saying and takes it as a critical analysis or something can back them up or help them out, I like that more than if I'm being mean to them. Unless they're being mean first. And it is being cruel to people, I think. So, I don't know.
I don't like being mean to people. I like being mean to ideas because they're not people. They're not real.
Agreed. And I think most creators. I think most creators with sense can sort out what is and what isn't. Feedback to an idea versus feedback against a person. But I don't like Limus's style here. I think she's very rude, and I like to avoid criticizing other creators. I'll say this right now. Most creators I've interacted with online have been very respectful to me, and that includes Movie Bob, by the way. So I don't want to be mean to any of those creators. Someone like a Mauler who's just rude in general, that's different. A Lily Orchard who's an assaulter, that's different. Shad, who's just a clown, that's different. But most people online are not Shadiversity, Lily Orchard, or Mauler. You know, they're usually just people making videos. And I want to avoid criticizing anyone like that. Limus, though, is just very very rude, really, to people is what it comes down to. And I don't like that.
And exactly. And I think, maybe this is a stretch, but I think there's a very obvious reason why she does this is because she's factionalizing. She's creating an invisible enemy for her audience to disagree with. So like, oh, you're not these people. You understood mouthwash. You're not like these mouth breathers over here. You're the good type. Keep watching my videos because you're so smart. It's pandering to her audience.
And interviewing Movie Bob would be interesting. That'd be actually interesting. I'm not gonna lie. I know Movie Bob has seen some of my videos, so I'd be down for that. If you watch this,
no attention to her
that'd be
corpse
fun.
And instead grabs the
Hi,
emergency
Movie Bob.
gun that
I
she
will
tried to
debate
hide.
you.
I would be down for that. That'd be fun. I think that'd be a fun discussion. I think he has a lot of interesting things to say.
From him, so that he can use it against Swansea. As soon as he picks it up, Curly in his lifeless state starts to laugh hysterically, most likely realizing that Anya was right the whole time.
That's an interpretation.
And had he done something, maybe this could have been prevented. No matter how much you can regret a decision, it doesn't reverse the damage it caused. Toxic masculinity's role in mouthwashing gets constantly pushed to the side by observers just because people either refuse to acknowledge it or are too uncomfortable to talk about it. Mouthwashing is meant to be an uncomfortable game. I don't see how you can play the game.
I think I missed something. Hang on. How do we get to talking about toxic masculinity?
No, it's a tangent.
Oh, okay. I was
And
just
not
confused.
feel
I'm like, how do we
icky
get
from the
here?
subject matter. That's why it's a horror
No,
game in the first
we're-
place. It's meant to instill
whatever.
a feeling
Yeah.
of dread on you. If you're going to be a fan of the game that has writing
Oh, hi,
relating to
Crim.
toxic
All
masculinity,
Crim's viewers
but
are now
draw
here.
the line at talking about it or bringing it
Aw.
up, then why are you a fan of the game in the first place? Jimmy and Curly
Crim's
both
rating
reflect
us.
two different aspects of toxic masculinity. Jimmy is manipulative and abusive. His spiteful personality is what leads to his colleagues disliking him. He constantly puts himself at a pedestal of power, whether it's him assuming the position of captain or him speaking on behalf of his crew members without their consent. He refuses to take accountability and instead believes that he is the only person who can fix the situation.
Again, the problem is all these observations are so surface level. None of these are like actually like saying, here's how we can interpret this game. It's just like, hey, the game did this. I'm like,
No, she has proven to me that she has probably played the game, or
Yeah,
at
she's
least
played it.
read a very good Wikipedia summary of the game.
I
who cares?
believe that she's played the game. I'm not doubting that. I just think that her read of it is very surface level, and she's making fun of other people. Oh, Crim, go get rest. You've been playing a lot. Go have fun. It's all good. I'll take care of your audience right now. We're just watching a person who was mean to me on Blue Sky, so it'll be fun.
Remember, if you're mean to ants on Blue Sky, you too could be in an upcoming video.
Honestly, that's the easiest way to get on if you really want to.
Yeah.
Unless you're that guy who's made like 20 fucking reaction videos about me, then you're not getting on any. I'm actually not acknowledging that one on purpose because it's not worth my time. Plus, your sound
That's
quality.
impressive. 20
Well, plus
20 reaction videos.
20
Nobody
reaction
talks
videos.
about me.
20 reaction videos, and his sound quality is still garbage. It's amazing. Anyway.
It's something that he never learns from and still believes he is fixing things all the way up to his death. Power plays a big part in toxic masculinity, and it's something that Jimmy is clearly obsessed with, but that's not the only trait he possesses.
Okay,
He
that
also
was the closest
refuses
thing to a
any
point.
sort of help, even if it's beneficial in the long run. One of the flashbacks in the game tells us that he views the psych evaluations as pointless and refuses to take them seriously.
Wait a second. She hasn't mentioned the other half of the cast yet.
I don't think she's going to. The video's almost over.
No, she's not. But that's like some of the best part of the game. And again, it counters the whole toxic masculinity angle that she's going with because they're two men, neither of whom are toxic men. They're actually pretty good people who are hurt by others.
And even then, like, that could be an interesting contrast to talk about if you are talking about toxic masculinity. Like, I'm sure there's an interesting argument that, again, I haven't played the game, but I'm sure there's an interesting argument that could start with toxic masculinity as an idea and have it lead to, deeper and probably more interesting ideas. But again, this is not really doing that. It's just saying that if you didn't play the game, you should play the game because you're wrong. Or I don't know what the argument is. Play the game, which is good.
Yeah.
You should play the game.
That's the problem. Like, all of her statements are just very surface level, basic nonsense. It's very disappointing, I think.
It's got a lot of views. That's troubling to me how many views this video has.
Yeah, it just feels, again, this kind of ties in with what we were talking about the last video. If you say something confidently enough in your title, people will just come to it and just take your opinion at face value, even if you're not really saying anything of any substance, I think, which is annoying.
And it creates an in-group that people can join and be right and feel confident in their rightness because they are within the quote-unquote right group.
Exactly. Let's just skip to her outro real quick. We're going to wrap it up after this, I think.
So what is mouthwashing about? It's about a lot of things. The game covers a lot of different topics, and in order to actually talk about the game as a whole, we have to cover everything, including the uncomfy subject matter. I never liked using the words media literacy because it's been beaten down to the point where it means absolutely nothing anymore, but I do think it applies to the way people talk about this game. A lot of people laugh when discussing mouthwashing, and it's a shame because this game is a marvel.
I hate media literacy, but I'm going to use it throughout my video, and it's really important.
And in my title.
I love when people do that.
I hate this word. Here's how I'm going to put it in my title.
Psychological horror storytelling. Mouthwashing is a game about toxic masculinity, culture, capitalism, cabin fever, and isolation. Boiling the entire story down to Jimmy is a monster would be to ignore the other story elements that make this game worth playing. I think the main takeaway I want people to have with this video is that discussing stories and analyzing them isn't black and white. There are many different messages that a story can have, and focusing on only one while ignoring the others is just doing a disservice to it. I hope that people can be a lot more welcoming of discussions about this game, even if it's uncomfortable topics, because it's worth having them.
What is
also
this is so
sexualizing
funny.
Anya-
I guess she's imagining that like people are like playing mouthwashing and going, wow, that sure was a great Call of Duty game.
Yeah,
like, what?
It's really strange,
so,
especially because she's saying like it's so not black and white, but her summary was extremely black and white.
It's more than one thing. Here are two things. I think it is. Like, come on, it's so transparent what's happening in this video.
Yeah, very superficial. I was not a fan of this discussion because it's just underwhelming. I don't know. I don't like it. I think it's very exhausting. I don't like it. It ain't good.
Don't talk like this if you're trying to make a point. Honestly, I think we got to retire the reaction animation YouTuber where they're just a bunch of GIFs.
I'm okay with it. I like the idea. No. I like the art styles. I don't think that her controversial take. I don't think Limus's avatar is all that bad. The thing is,
no, I thought the same thing about the last video too. We gotta take a break on these reaction videos where it's just different little drawing JPEGs.
Different little guys, just little guys showing up. I mean, it's better than just a robot. You have to admit that.
I guess that's fair, but you don't need a whole lot to make it. Hey, Sean makes a video and it's just one picture static the entire time, and it's some of the best stuff ever.
That's true.
You don't need a lot. You don't need a lot to make a good video.
Sean has a pretty good skull. Sean has a good head off his shoulders. That's what matters.
Yes.
You see what you did there. All right, let's read some super chats, and then we're gonna probably wrap it up for the evening, I think.
I gotta get going, so that's perfect.
Oh hell yeah! Right now, or you want to have the wrap up first?
Oh no, I want to hear the super chats, and then I'll probably head out.
Sounds good to me. All right, Angel Gaming, thanks super chat. So mouthwashing is just Pikmin 2 plot wise? Yes, it's exactly like Pikmin 2. There's nothing different about it. Pikmin 2 also has an assault scene in it. You probably missed it. It's pretty explicit. I don't know. I don't think anyone. I'm surprised Nintendo went that far. Really went for a whole "I spit on your grave" vibe. Sigh. I hate when people think art is political means art is obligated to have an overt political message. That's also true. Art is political does not mean the message is overt. It could be subtle. It just influences the means through which the art is created. And Madeline, I think you agree with me in this one. When we say art is political, we don't mean that the author literally went, okay, how can I shove my messaging into this work? It's more, hey, how can we incorporate the ideas of the world into our work, which is a little more general. Well, not even intentional. It's not as incidental, really.
Absolutely. It's like Jacob Geller says in one of my favorite video essays about how the creators of Call of Duty don't see their game as political, and how that's really terrifying because they think that storming other countries and colonialist attitudes are not political. That's really scary. If you have that mindset, that is terrifying. And that's really scary about our world. If that's just a not political issue to you.
100% agree with that. It's very disconcerting. Okay. Ghostman GM. I feel like everybody who works shitty jobs talks to each other about it. Yeah, 100%. We all know the jobs that are terrible are terrible if you ever work one of those. Also, same user. Curly doing the Courage the Cowardly Dog laugh. Yeah, I love that. So great. David Deister. Linkara. Because poor literacy is cool. With a K. But you didn't finish the statement. I do love that line, though. Hizaki Kentai. Hey, Ant. Happy gay. Thanks. Happy gay to you, too.
Happy gay, everyone.
Blue Bow 501. I'm convinced Limus didn't actually play the game. Otherwise, she would have used its god-ass music in her video. I could see her using Silent Hill music just for the fun of it, though. It is a good soundtrack.
Could be copyright issues, too. Who knows?
That could be it, too, but I don't think there would be. I think video game music's pretty okay on YouTube, typically.
You would be surprised what can get copyrighted. Or you wouldn't, because we've had the same issues.
That is true. That's very true. So, actually, speaking of Linkara, though, I do want to bring up one thing that's going to be really fun coming up, which I'm going to be talking about for the next several weeks until it happens. I'm very excited about this. I was invited to... Oh, and thank you, Egg, for the super chat. No message in there, though, but I appreciate it. Okay, I'm going to just talk about this real quick.
Oh, today's Egg Day, by the way.
Oh, it's
I don't know
Egg Day?
if that was related to it. Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay, that would explain
Egg
a lot. It's Egg Day. It's Egg Day today. Okay, so on June... I'm going to move this over slightly so you can see this properly. Oh, I don't know what it is. On June 28th at 12 p.m. Central Time, I'm going to be part of the Comics for the Cure charity stream being run by Comic Drake. I think it's being run by Comic Drake anyway. I mean, he's asked me to join, so I'm assuming he's in charge. He's even saying all the emails out about it. Along with a bunch of other fantastic creators, including Linkara, Implicitly Pretentious, Comic Tropes, Critical Rants, Alex Lenin, G. Jatuo, New Comics, Imaginary Axis, Amazing PSM, Linkara, Mary Marvelite, Comic Crackle, Michaela J. Layard, and Mullet Man Comics, including a few more, some of whom I am aware of, but I'm not going to announce yet until Comic Drake mentions it. And it's going to be an incredibly fun charity stream. We're going to be playing Among Us, which means I will get to vote Linkara out of the airlock in Among Us.
You should just do that every time, like no matter what. Just always vote off Linkara first.
Oh, no, Linkara is cool. I like Linkara. I like all these people. They're all incredible people.
Look, it's a joke. It's fun.
I know. Fun. But after the last couple of things you've said about other creators.
What if I have said nothing? Okay, look at me. I have never said a bad thing about a person. I've said bad things about their art, because that's not the people. Jessie Gender is a very nice person. I think some of her videos are shallow. That does not mean I don't think she's a good person. I think she is. Okay, right. Whatever.
I think her videos are really cool. But okay, let's end it there before we accidentally insult anyone. I am really excited about this stream. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We're gonna be raising money for charity. It's all for a good cause. And I have a lot of respect for Comic Drake. He's a really cool dude. And he's helped me out with my charity, so might as well help him out with his. And I will be streaming that day. I think all of us are going to be streaming windows of the stream, so you'll see it from my perspective as I concoct murderous schemes against people whose work I deeply respect and have always admired. So yeah, there we go. So I want to get that out there right now, but before we go, I do know that Madeline, you may have some things you want to tell us about, like your channel that's now
Oh.
on screen right now.
Oh, yeah, hi. Like I said, I'm Madeline May. I make video essays. I like to talk about art. I like to analyze all sorts of things. I've got videos on Beau is Afraid. I've got a video on Hello Boss. I got a video on Fantastic Beasts and why it's even worse than you imagine. And I've got a video on the Matrix that I'm working on right now, and it's about how the franchise seems to poison people's brains and why I think it does so and what it all means.
There we go. There we go. I'm excited to see more. I'm excited to see a Matrix video when it comes out. I think it's I think it's gonna be fantastic. And
Thank you. I've been working like months on it. It's going to be long, which is how you know it's also good and correct, because it's going to be a very long video.
that's what we've learned from this whole thing. That long
Yeah,
videos
that's what we
means
learned.
good. Exactly.
Yes.
There we go. Perfect. I love it. All right. So everyone in
I wanted to say I miss having purple hair. Every time I see my channel, I'm like, that was so fun.
just get purple hair again. Just get purple hair.
I know.
You can get it. You just go to the store, buy some hair dye. It's good to go.
No, I
you got it.
I go to the fancy places. I am
I see,
a
I see.
girl with very sensitive everything.
Fair enough. I will accept that. I will accept that. But thank you genuinely for sitting around and watching some of these discussions, for engaging in this discussion. I think it's a lot going on. I think we only touched the surface. I think the discussion of media literacy and analysis is so important. And next super chat, Adrian Parchman, Madeline May, don't be Yandev.
Don't be what?
Don't be a Yandere dev. Basically, like saying you're gonna make the video and then like take 10 years and you still, because Yandere dev. Okay, I have to explain this. Yandere dev spent like a decade plus making his game Yandere Simulator, and the thing he would always say,
okay.
he would always, it was a joke.
I thought you were like, I'm being yandere to somebody. I'm like, who am I being yandere to? I guess Jesse Gender.
No.
Is that what I'm-
Oh God!
I don't know.
Poor
Like,
Jesse.
I mean
Poor Jesse
Sundar,
Gender's gonna
Sundar.
watch this and go, "Oh my God, that Anthony guy can't stand." I
No,
love your work.
I am Sundir to Jesse Gender. It's not like I like you, Baka. That's it. That's the real answer.
Fair enough. I think Jesse Gender's work is excellent. Absolutely. So we're gonna go with that.
And also to answer that super chat, it is so close to being done. The writing is very close, almost done.
Mhm.
And when I finish writing the script, I always put my scripts on my Patreon first for people to read and check out before the video comes out. So look forward to that.
There we go. There we go. Okay, cool. So before we move into the super chat, thank you so much for stepping in and enjoying the ride, and we shall see you all very soon. Take care, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Are we off or?
Oh no, I'm just running the music a little bit.